Beneath layers of stone and centuries of silence lie tombs the world was never meant to find. Chambers sealed by forgotten hands, treasures untouched since the day they were hidden, and rulers whose names have been erased from history. Each discovery is a doorway into a realm of unanswered questions, where ancient architecture whispers of lost civilizations, and where the dead still guard their secrets as fiercely as they did in life. In the summer of 323 BCE, the world's greatest conqueror drew his final breath in Babylon. Alexander the Great, the man who carved an empire from Greece to the edges of India, was gone at just 32 years old. But death did not end his story. It began a new one. A story of a tomb so magnificent it drew emperors to their knees, a relic of power that could bend politics and shape history itself. And then, without warning, it disappeared. No ruins, no map, no answers. Only a legend and the relentless question that has haunted humanity for over 2 millennia. Where is the tomb of Alexander the Great? What do you think about this mystery? Could the tomb of Alexander the Great still lie hidden beneath the streets of Alexandria, have been completely destroyed, or be concealed in a secret location no one has ever discovered? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective. Immediately after Alexander's death, the most important issue for his successor generals was not just the division of territory, but who would control his remains. In the ancient world, the body of a hero was considered a tremendous source of political power. The original plan was to return him to Macedonia, homeland of the Argead dynasty, to be buried with royal honors. However, General Ptolemy, one of his closest companions, decided to intervene. Recognizing the symbolic value of Alexander's body, Ptolemy intercepted the funeral procession and redirected it to Egypt, where he was building his own power base. In Alexandria, the new capital of Egypt under the Ptolemaic dynasty, a magnificent tomb was constructed to become Alexander's final resting place. This structure combined classical Greek architecture with Egyptian style, featuring massive stone columns, elaborate domes, and a solid gold coffin containing the embalmed body preserved using the most advanced techniques of the time. The tomb quickly became a pilgrimage site, not only for citizens, but also for contemporary leaders. Roman emperors such as Julius Caesar Augustus and Caligula visited, with some accounts claiming they even touched the mummy. Each visit was a subtle declaration that they were the spiritual heirs of Alexander. Ancient accounts of Alexander's tomb paint a picture of breathtaking splendor, yet they rarely agree on the details, adding layers of intrigue to the mystery. Some chroniclers claimed the coffin was fashioned from solid gold, a dazzling display of wealth and authority. Others described it as glass or crystal, transparent enough for visitors to gaze directly upon the embalmed body. Several sources spoke of intricate reliefs carved into the walls, immortalizing Alexander's greatest battles, while others mentioned a profusion of gemstones set into the structure, catching the light like captured stars. Rare and costly perfumes were said to fill the chamber, preserving the body and surrounding it with an aura of reverence. Though the specifics differ, all accounts converge on one truth. This was not merely a tomb, but one of the most magnificent monuments of the ancient world, a bold and enduring proclamation of imperial power. Starting in the 3rd century CE, records of Alexander's tomb became increasingly scarce, as if it was slowly fading from the collective memory of the ancient world. During this period, Alexandria was plunged into turmoil. Political uprisings shook the city, powerful earthquakes brought down monumental structures, and the Roman Empire's control over the region steadily weakened. By the 4th and 5th centuries, historical sources had almost completely erased its existence. This silence is what makes the mystery so striking. A grand monument once celebrated across continents, visited by emperors, and revered as the ultimate symbol of power, had vanished entirely. No ruins, no reliable maps, no final account of its fate, only scattered fragments of description, faint traces of something that had been lost. For more than 2,000 years, historians and archaeologists have endlessly debated what truly happened to the tomb of Alexander the Great, producing a series of fascinating theories, each as mysterious as the story itself. Some believe the tomb still lies somewhere beneath modern Alexandria, buried under layers of stone rubble and centuries of accumulated construction. The city has been rebuilt countless times since antiquity, and repeated earthquakes and tsunamis have reshaped its landscape, making excavation in the dense urban core almost impossible. Others argue that its fate was far more dramatic, that the tomb was deliberately destroyed in the 4th and 5th centuries CE, when Christianity became the official religion of the Roman Empire. During this period, many pagan monuments were dismantled, treasures melted down or repurposed, and Alexander's golden coffin may have been among the most coveted spoils. Another theory leans toward the possibility of a secret relocation, perhaps fearing looting or desecration. The tomb's custodians secretly moved the remains to a hidden location, possibly deep within the Egyptian desert, or even back to Macedonia, leaving no public record of the transfer. Finally, nature itself could have been the culprit. Alexandria sits on unstable ground, near major geological faults, and powerful ancient earthquakes are known to have sent vast sections of the city plunging into the Mediterranean. If this is true, the tomb may now lie on the seabed, shrouded in darkness, alongside other lost wonders of the ancient world. Each theory opens up tantalizing possibilities, and all help to keep this mystery alive. For centuries, explorers, historians, and archaeologists have scoured the Mediterranean in search of Alexander the Great's legendary lost tomb, yet no confirmed evidence has ever surfaced. Excavations in Alexandria have revealed intricate underground tombs, and surveys at the remote Siwa oasis have uncovered mysterious stone structures, but none can be conclusively linked to the Macedonian conqueror. This lack of definitive proof is made more intriguing by the near-total silence of historical records after the 5th century CE, as if the tomb had been deliberately erased from history. Such a possibility has given rise to the deliberate erasure theory that a ruler, religious authority, or powerful faction might have ordered the destruction, concealment, or relocation of the tomb to strip it of its political power. In the ancient world, possession of Alexander's remains was a potent symbol of legitimacy, and removing that symbol could decisively shift the balance of authority. This raises the haunting question: was the tomb lost by accident or hidden on purpose? Today, Alexander's tomb remains one of the world's greatest archaeological mysteries, on par with the fate of Egyptian treasures or the tomb of Genghis Khan. It holds immense historical value and evokes a deep sense of loss, as if an important chapter of human history had been torn from the book. And it is precisely this complete disappearance from the map that has transformed the tomb from a monument into a legend, fueling endless searches, debates, and speculation among scientists and history enthusiasts worldwide. If one day the tomb is discovered and excavated, it would be an event that would transform our understanding of the ancient world, not only about Alexander himself, but also about how civilizations preserve or destroy their symbols of power. Until then, the question, where is the tomb of Alexander the Great, will remain a ghost haunting history, and its story will continue to be told as a reminder that even the greatest legends can fade into dust. On the arid high plains of southern Peru, across a vast, wind-swept desert, stretch hundreds of enormous geoglyphs, from perfectly straight lines running for kilometers to giant birds, monkeys, spiders, whales, and complex geometric patterns. These are the Nazca Lines, one of humanity's most mysterious archaeological legacies, created by the Nazca culture more than 1,500 years ago. Scientists, archaeologists, and researchers still debate their true purpose, whether they were astronomical calendars, ceremonial pathways, or messages to the gods. However, there is a lesser-known detail that opens up another layer of mystery: the existence of burial sites directly beneath or near these massive geoglyphs. The discovery of ancient tombs right under the lines has forced researchers to ask, why did the Nazca place the dead in these special locations? Could there be a spiritual connection between the geoglyphs and the burials, or is it merely a coincidence? What do you think? Could the placement of these ancient burials beneath or near the Nazca Lines have been intentional part of a sacred design? Or was it simply coincidence? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Excavations at certain sites within the Nazca region have brought astonishing discoveries to the archaeological community. Hidden beneath the arid desert sands, researchers have uncovered ancient tombs located right next to or even directly beneath the massive geoglyphs stretching across the ground. The extremely dry desert climate created an ideal natural preservation environment. Many mummies still retain their jet black hair, darkened skin, and finely woven garments with patterns and colors that remain vivid after thousands of years. Accompanying them are abundant grave goods, from intricately painted ceramics and ceremonial tools to brightly dyed textiles, all reflecting the Nazca people's high level of craftsmanship and rich spiritual culture. Notably, most of the bodies were buried in a seated, knees-drawn position, tightly wrapped in multiple layers of burial cloth, a posture common in many ancient South American cultures, possibly symbolizing rebirth or preparation for the journey to the afterlife. However, what particularly intrigues researchers is that the arrangement of these Nazca burials appears to be far from random. Many are located precisely at the intersections or central points of the geoglyphs, hinting at a deep ceremonial connection between burial practices and the creation of these colossal designs. Several skeletal remains excavated in the Nazca region bear clear signs of decapitation or dismemberment, suggesting they may have been victims of sacrificial rituals. In the context of a culture surviving in a harsh desert environment with scarce water resources and agriculture entirely dependent on rainfall, such rituals were likely intended to seek the favor of the gods, particularly deities of rain and harvest. Notably, evidence of these sacrifices appears in the very areas where the massive geoglyphs are located, creating a thought-provoking connection. The combination of sacrificial activity and the presence of large-scale carvings has led many researchers to believe that the Nazca Lines were not merely works of art or astronomical tools, but could have been part of a complex system of belief and ritual in which each geoglyph held a sacred symbolic role closely tied to the community's religious practices and survival. The mystery of the connection between the burial sites and the giant geoglyphs on the Nazca Desert remains one of the most hotly debated topics in archaeology, and it is also a question that has gone unanswered for decades. Why did the Nazca people place the resting places of the dead directly beneath or near these enormous carvings? Researchers have proposed several major theories. The first suggests that the geoglyphs served as ceremonial maps on the ground, guiding the souls to the afterlife. In this interpretation, a giant bird might symbolize a messenger carrying the soul to meet the gods, while long straight lines pointing toward mountains or sacred water sources could be gateways between realms. The second theory views the geoglyphs as sacred markers within a vast spiritual map where burial at these locations would be akin to placing the deceased in land under divine protection, similar to how many other cultures chose temples or sacred monuments as burial grounds. The third theory is directly linked to the rain-making rituals of the Nazca. If the geoglyphs were created to communicate with rain or water deities, then burial, especially of those chosen for sacrifice, might have been both a form of remembrance and an act of binding them to the agricultural cycle. Whichever approach one takes, all three theories suggest that the Nazca lines were not merely works of art or astronomical tools, but part of a complex belief system in which death ritual and monumental symbols fused into a single entity within the desert landscape. Determining the true purpose behind the combination of burial sites and the Nazca lines remains a major challenge for researchers. While many proposed theories seem plausible, verifying them is extremely difficult. One of the main obstacles is dating erosion-shifting terrain, and constant sand-laden winds have blurred the original traces, making it complex to compare the creation time of the geoglyphs with the burial periods. In fact, not all graves date to the same era as the lines. Some may have been interred hundreds of years later, raising the question of whether they were part of the same ritual or simply a reuse of sacred land. Furthermore, the Nazca left no written records or symbols to explain the meaning of the geoglyphs or their burial practices. All current understanding relies on archaeological excavation comparisons with neighboring cultures and reasoned inference, but it is still far from enough to draw a definitive conclusion. If the connection between the burials and the Nazca lines is real, it would mean that the Nazca people created a vast ceremonial landscape where art, faith, death, and hope were interwoven into a single, unified whole. In their worldview, death was not an end, but a link in an endless cycle, deeply tied to the earth, the sky, and the gods. The massive geoglyphs across the desert may have served both as signals sent to the heavens and as eternal markers for future generations to recognize the resting places of the dead. Seen from above, the entire Nazca Desert appears as a living canvas where colossal carvings intertwine with burial sites, together telling the story of a vanished civilization, a story humanity has only begun to scratch the surface of, still holding countless secrets waiting to be uncovered. Amid the lush green hills of Longyou County, Zhejiang Province, China, lies a structure deep underground whose existence had been completely forgotten by the world for millennia. This is the Longyou Caves, a massive man-made cave system discovered entirely by chance in 1992 when a local resident decided to drain a small pond to raise fish. No one expected that beneath the still waters would open up a vast space carved with such precision that it astonished both archaeologists and modern engineers alike. What do you think about the fact that a colossal wonder like the Longyou Caves could be forgotten for thousands of years, only to be discovered entirely by chance? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The scale and construction techniques of the Longyou Caves truly surpass imagination when compared to any other ancient underground structure. The system consists of at least 24 chambers, each reaching heights of around 30 meters, with floor areas stretching to thousands of square meters, all carved directly into solid, monolithic sandstone. The total volume of stone removed is estimated at hundreds of thousands of cubic meters, an enormous figure considering that the entire process was carried out using only ancient hand tools. Even more impressive, every surface of the walls and ceilings is covered with perfectly parallel carved lines resembling the cut marks of modern industrial machinery. But in reality, the result of millions of painstaking chisel strikes executed with astonishing precision. This required not only master-level craftsmanship, but also the ability to maintain perfect consistency, along with meticulous measurement and orientation planning to ensure straight alignment and uniform depth across such vast surfaces, a task that would be nearly impossible with the technology available at the time. One of the most puzzling aspects for archaeologists studying the Longyou caves is that no trace of rock debris or waste from the excavation process has ever been found. With the volume of stone removed, estimated at hundreds of thousands of cubic meters, the surrounding area should logically contain evidence of spoil heaps or auxiliary quarry sites, yet none exist. The complete disappearance of this material raises difficult questions. Where was it taken, how, and for what purpose? The mystery deepens further when we consider that there are no historical records or ancient documents mentioning such a massive project, even though, in theory, a construction requiring such manpower and technical skill would surely have been recorded in official chronicles or local archives. What makes the Longyou caves one of China's greatest archaeological mysteries is that their age and the identity of their builders remain completely unknown. Some researchers based on architectural style and signs of stone weathering speculate that the structure may have been created during the Qin dynasty around the 3rd century BCE. However, others argue that it could be more than 2,000 years old, possibly belonging to a prehistoric civilization never recorded in official history. The biggest problem is that no organic material such as wood bone or artifacts suitable for radiocarbon dating has ever been found inside the caves. Without this crucial data, every attempt to determine their age has reached a dead end. This absence of information has given rise to numerous theories, ranging from a military installation or the secret treasury of a dynasty to the last surviving remnant of an ancient civilization that vanished long ago. The true purpose of the Longyou caves remains an open question, despite many theories being proposed. The most common view suggests that it was built by a powerful dynasty in Chinese history, intended for military purposes or as a secret storage facility. However, upon investigation, researchers found no traces of weapons, military tools, or defensive systems features typically present in military structures. Another theory claims that these caves were once used for religious ceremonies linked to rituals that have since been lost. Yet contradicting this idea, the walls and ceilings bear no carving statues or religious symbols, which are almost always found in ancient sacred sites. The absence of such evidence makes determining the original function of the structure all the more difficult and mysterious. Some researchers have boldly proposed the theory that the Longyou caves may belong to a civilization far older than any ever recorded in Chinese history. This civilization may have possessed advanced construction techniques, enabling them to create massive caves with near-perfect precision, yet vanished completely before leaving any clear trace in the archaeological record. If this theory is correct, the Longyou caves could be a solitary relic, existing in isolation with no direct connection to any known archaeological culture, like a misplaced fragment of history that both fascinates and frustrates scientists in their attempts to decipher it. One of the factors that makes the Longyou caves so remarkable is their near-perfect state of preservation after thousands of years. The caves have retained their original shape, with no major collapses, almost no large cracks, and no long-term flooding. This suggests that the builders not only mastered stone quarrying techniques, but also possessed a deep understanding of geological structures, knowing how to select the right location, calculate load-bearing directions, and reinforce the structure so it could endure over time. Their waterproofing ability is equally astonishing, as many chambers remain dry, despite the relatively high groundwater levels in the area, hinting at a level of engineering skill far beyond what we typically attribute to ancient civilizations. One particularly intriguing aspect of the Longyou caves is that all the chambers feature the same type of carved patterns on their walls and ceilings, consisting of evenly spaced parallel lines with uniform depth and distance. This uniformity suggests they were built to a common standard, likely during the same period, or by the same group of skilled craftsmen. To create a series of caves with identical design and technique, the ancient builders must have had detailed plans, precise measurement methods, and a high level of construction management, something rarely seen in large-scale ancient structures. Today, the Longyou caves have become a famous destination for tourism and research. Yet year after year, the questions of their age and builders remain unanswered. No one knows exactly who they were, where they came from, or why they invested such vast manpower and time into this colossal project without leaving a single written record. This turns the Longyou caves into not just an archaeological site, but also an intellectual challenge for the entire scientific community. Amid overlapping theories and scattered fragments of information, the Longyou caves still stand, silent, majestic, and mysterious, like a message from the past to the present. Perhaps to solve this mystery, humanity will need not only advanced technology, but also patience, waiting for more archaeological discoveries to piece together the full picture of the history hidden beneath the land of China. Across the Japanese archipelago, from the northern forests of Hokkaido to the southern valleys of Kyushu, archaeologists have discovered tens of thousands of small yet peculiar clay figurines. They bear human-like forms, but nothing like any human we know. Large heads, oversized goggle-like eyes, short, thick bodies, and intricate patterns running over their entire surface. The Japanese call them Dogu, meaning earthen figures. The Dogu date throughout the Jomon period, 14,300 BCE, with their most remarkable craftsmanship occurring in the later stages around 1,400 BCE. By then, the Jomon people had developed sophisticated clay firing techniques, enabling them to create works not only of unique appearance, but also of exceptional durability, surviving for thousands of years. From an artistic perspective, the Dogu stand as proof of timeless creativity. From an archaeological standpoint, they are an unsolved mystery. What makes the Dogu particularly fascinating is not just their strange appearance, but their function, a major question that still fuels intense debate among researchers. No written records from the Jomon survive to explain the true purpose of these figurines. All we have are clues from excavation sites, form wear marks, and comparisons with other ancient cultures. What do you think these Dogu figurines were truly created for? A religious symbol, a ritual effigy, or perhaps something far beyond our imagination? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Although Dogu figurines mimic the human body, they are depicted with entirely unusual features, seemingly intentionally departing from natural proportions. Some have triangular heads, bulging eyes as if about to pop out, or rounded bodies with excessively exaggerated hips and chests. The most notable is the Shakoki Dogu Zheguangqitu, the snow goggle dog, with enormous almond-shaped eyes that almost cover the entire face, evoking images of masks or protective headgear worn by hunters in icy regions. These elements are unlikely to be mere decorative choices. They carry symbolic weight, potentially holding religious or ritual significance. Intricate carved patterns cover their bodies, spirals, curves, and designs resembling straps, garments, or even armor. Some dog appear to be wearing tight-fitting suits, with technical seam-like lines, leading some modern researchers to compare them to spacesuits, further heightening their mysterious allure and the debates over what might have inspired the Jomon people. More than 18,000 dog artifacts have been unearthed across Japan, appearing in various contexts, from ancient settlements and cemeteries to ritual pits. What is striking is that most are no longer intact. Many are broken, shattered, or missing arms, legs, or heads. Upon analysis, archaeologists have determined that these breaks were not caused by the wear of time or accidental damage, but rather seem to have been intentional acts by ancient people. A common theory suggests that breaking the figurines was a symbolic ritual. When a prayer or ceremonial purpose had been fulfilled, the figure serving as a stand-in for a person or spirit would be released through the act of snapping or smashing it. This indicates that Dogu were not merely static objects of worship, but part of a living ritual cycle intrinsically tied to their creation, use, and eventual deliberate destruction. One of the theories most discussed by archaeologists suggests that Dogu were used in fertility and health protection rituals. Many figurines have distinctly swollen bellies, and their chests and hips are exaggerated features commonly associated with fertility and the continuation of the lineage. This style of depiction has led researchers to draw parallels with the Venus figurines of Europe's Stone Age, which are widely regarded as fertility symbols. In addition, some Dogu show signs of injury or include details resembling bandages, giving rise to the theory that they may have served as healing effigies. The Jomon people may have believed that performing actions on the figurine, such as applying bandages or carving healing symbols, could help cure the real person. Once the patient recovered, the figurine would be destroyed as a closing ritual, both to release the effigy and to affirm the success of the ceremony. What makes the Dogu hold a special place among Japan's most mysterious artifacts is the complete absence of a definitive explanation. To this day, no one knows for certain whether they represented deities, ancestors, shamans, or some other abstract concept. The shapes and styles of Dogu vary significantly across regions from Hokkaido to Kyushu, making it nearly impossible to determine a single unified function. Furthermore, they existed for thousands of years during the Jomon period, a span long enough for their meanings and uses to have changed many times. A Dogu created in Hokkaido in the 10th century BCE could have carried entirely different symbolism, rituals, or roles from one made in Kyushu in the 4th century BCE. This layering of time and geography has made Dogu a challenging subject for researchers, while preserving their enigmatic allure across millennia. One fringe theory, particularly in the realm of pseudo-archaeology, suggests that the Dogu are evidence that the Jomon people once had contact with extraterrestrial beings. Proponents of this idea often point to the enormous goggle-like eyes, the rounded heads with helmet-like tops, and the body patterns resembling mechanical details or high-tech suits. They believe the Jomon depicted visitors from the sky through clay artistry. However, mainstream archaeologists reject this notion, viewing it as a modern interpretation imposed upon an ancient artistic style that was in fact shaped by indigenous beliefs and symbolism. Still, it cannot be denied that the image of the Dogu continues to spark intense imagination. The large, vacant eyes that seem to be watching something beyond human comprehension, and this very quality has helped the Dogu maintain their enigmatic allure for millennia. Today, the Dogu are not only subjects of archaeological study, but have also become a unique cultural symbol of Japan. The image of these clay figurines appears in many fields, from contemporary art and handcrafted design to film, manga, anime, and video games. Many creators draw inspiration from the Dogu, to craft mysterious characters or use them as symbols, evoking an ancient civilization. At the Tokyo National Museum and numerous local museums, Dogu are displayed as vivid proof of the deep history and enduring creativity of the Jomon people. Yet the biggest question, what were the Dog truly made for, remains unanswered. This long silence, lasting for millennia, has turned them into clay witnesses of a vanished culture carrying secrets that time has yet to unveil. In the heart of the Andes, amid the echoes of stone walls and the whispers of ancient legends, lies one of South America's most enduring enigmas, the lost tomb of Pachacuti Inca Yupanqui. Pachacuti, who reigned from 1438 to 1471, was no ordinary leader. He was the visionary ruler who transformed the small kingdom of Cusco into the vast Inca Empire Tawantinsuyu, stretching across much of present-day Peru, Ecuador, Bolivia, Chile, and Argentina. His reign reshaped the cultural, political, and spiritual landscape of the Andes, and his influence is still felt in modern Peru. Yet despite his monumental legacy, the final resting place of the man who defined an empire has never been found. For more than half a millennium, the tomb of Pachacuti has remained shrouded in secrecy, locked away from history's gaze. What do you think happened to Pachacuti's tomb? Was it hidden on purpose, destroyed, or could it still be lying untouched somewhere in the Andes? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your theory. This is what makes the mystery so compelling. In the annals of ancient history, few rulers have vanished from the archaeological record in such a perplexing way. We know of Pachacuti's feats the construction of grand architectural marvels such as Machu Picchu, the restructuring of Cusco into a planned ceremonial capital, the expansion of the Inca road system. But when it comes to his burial, the trail suddenly turns cold. Chroniclers from the Spanish colonial era recorded details of his reign, his military campaigns, and even the lavish ceremonies of Inca funerals. Yet none left a definitive record of where his body lies. For historians and archaeologists, this absence is a gaping void. For over 500 years, generations of explorers, scholars, and treasure hunters have been drawn into the riddle only to emerge empty-handed. The depth of this enigma cannot be overstated. This is not merely the case of a missing grave. It is a deliberate, enduring silence that has outlasted empires, revolutions, and centuries of modernization. Every civilization has honored its greatest leaders with monuments, the pyramids of Egypt, the mausoleums of China's emperors, the royal necropolises of Europe. Yet for Pachacuti, the architect of the Inca Golden Age, there is no tomb for the world to see, no shrine to lay flowers upon. His absence raises unsettling questions. Was the tomb destroyed? Was it hidden so well that even time itself cannot uncover it? Or was it concealed with the explicit intention that it would never be found? Some scholars believe the Inca elite intentionally erased the knowledge of its location to protect it from the Spanish conquistadors whose arrival in the 16th century brought the systematic looting of temples' treasures and sacred sites. It is known that Inca mummies, especially those of royalty, were not buried underground in the European sense, but kept in elaborate chambers where they were revered as living ancestors. These mummies were brought out for ceremonies, dressed in fine garments, and even consulted for guidance. For Pachacuti, whose status was unparalleled, such preservation would have been paramount. But if his mummy existed in a sacred chamber, at the time of the Spanish conquest, it likely faced one of two fates: destruction at the hands of missionaries seeking to erase pagan practices, or concealment by loyalists desperate to preserve their emperor's dignity. Over the centuries, countless theories have emerged regarding the location of Pachacuti's lost tomb. but one of the most enduring and intriguing points directly beneath the Plaza de Armas in Cusco. Today, this square is alive with tourists, street performers, and market stalls, but during Pachacuti's reign, it was the spiritual and political nucleus of the Inca Empire, framed by grand palaces and sacred temples. Many archaeologists suspect that somewhere below the cobblestones could lie an elaborate burial chamber, perhaps adorned with gold and precious artifacts sealed away since the 15th century. However, the challenge is formidable. The plaza is now the beating heart of a modern city, densely built and historically protected, making any large-scale excavation a logistical and cultural dilemma. Even with advanced scanning technologies, the possibility of disturbing centuries-old foundations and the daily life of Cusco's residents has so far kept the mystery buried in the shadows. Another theory points toward Machu Picchu, the legendary citadel perched among the clouds. Pachacuti is widely credited with commissioning this site, possibly as a royal estate or a sacred retreat. Some researchers suggest that deep within its terraces, beyond the tourist trails, there could be hidden burial chambers designed to be inaccessible to outsiders. In recent decades, ground-penetrating radar surveys have hinted at anomalies beneath certain structures at Machu Picchu, fueling speculation. However, strict heritage preservation laws and the spiritual significance of the site have made invasive searches controversial. Still others believe the tomb may lie far from Cusco in remote valleys or mountain caves, known only to a select few descendants of the Inca nobility. The Andes are riddled with hidden places, some accessible only by perilous trails, others entirely cut off by rock slides and centuries of overgrowth. Oral traditions in certain Quechua-speaking communities hint at the sleeping king resting in a place where the earth and sky meet, guarded by the spirits of the mountains. Whether these tales are poetic metaphors or fragments of real history remains uncertain. The implications of finding Pachacuti's tomb are staggering. Beyond the inevitable global media storm, such a discovery would offer an unprecedented glimpse into the life and death of one of history's most influential rulers. The burial chamber could contain textiles, ceremonial vessels, weapons, and intricate metalwork that might rewrite our understanding of Inca art and technology. Most tantalizingly, the preservation of Pachacuti's remains could allow for scientific analysis, revealing his age-health diet and possibly even the cause of his death. This would not only enrich Inca history, but also provide a tangible human connection to a figure who has until now existed only in chronicles and stone. For Peru, the cultural impact would be immeasurable. The tomb would become a site of pilgrimage for historians, archaeologists, and the Quechua people, serving as a bridge between the pre-Columbian past and the modern nation. Tourism would likely surge much as Egypt experienced after the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb. But perhaps more importantly, it would restore a piece of dignity to the narrative of the Inca, a people whose story has often been told through the lens of their conquerors. And yet, despite centuries of searching, Pachacuti remains hidden. The silence surrounding his final resting place is almost as though the earth itself has conspired to keep the secret. Perhaps this is fitting. Pachacuti was not merely a ruler. He was a strategist, a visionary who understood the power of symbols. In life, he remade the world around him. In death, he may have ensured that his presence would continue to be felt not through a visible monument, but through an enduring absence that compels generation after generation to keep looking. In the end, the lost tomb of Pachacuti is more than an archaeological mystery. It is a story about memory, legacy, and the lengths to which a civilization will go to protect what it holds sacred. 5 centuries have passed, and still the great emperor sleeps somewhere in the Andes beyond the reach of history's grasp. Perhaps one day, the mountains will yield their secret. Until then, Pachacuti's absence remains one of the greatest unsolved puzzles of the ancient world, a reminder that some mysteries are as eternal as the stones of Machu Picchu. High in the misty peaks of northern Peru's Andes, where sheer cliffs vanish into the clouds, an ancient mystery clings to the rock face. These are the Chachapoya cloud tombs, breathtaking burial sites suspended on vertical walls, so remote and perilous that they seem almost impossible to reach. For centuries, they have withstood windrain and time itself, defying both nature and human intrusion. Crafted by the Chachapoya, the legendary warriors of the clouds, between the 9th and 15th centuries, these tombs are more than mere resting places. They are silent sentinels of a vanished people, guarding secrets that the Inca conquest and the passage of ages could never fully erase. What about you? If you were living in the time of the Chachapoya, why do you think they would risk everything to build tombs in such unreachable places? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'm curious to hear your theories. The cloud tombs are often found thousands of meters above sea level, clinging to sheer cliff faces where a single misstep could cost a life. This extreme inaccessibility astonishes anyone who sees them, yet their architecture is even more striking. Many of the tombs were crafted as human-shaped sarcophagi, about 2.5 meters tall, made from a mixture of clay wood and plant fibers, coated with yellow or white paint, and sometimes decorated with geometric patterns and religious symbols with spiritual significance. Others were built as small mausoleums of stone and mud, cleverly making use of natural rock niches for protection against wind and rain. Remarkably, even after more than half a millennium, many tombs remain almost perfectly intact thanks to the cold, dry climate of the high mountains and their isolation from human disturbance. Inside the cloud tombs, archaeologists have discovered mummies wrapped in finely woven textiles whose intricate patterns reveal an advanced level of craftsmanship. Alongside the bodies, many grave goods, such as pottery tools and occasionally precious metal jewelry, were buried. What astonishes researchers is the near-perfect state of preservation, despite the Chachapoya lacking the complex embalming techniques of ancient Egypt. It is the cold, dry climate, low humidity, and thin air of the high mountains that helped slow decomposition, preserving vivid traces of their daily life and spiritual beliefs. What makes the Chachapoya cloud tombs most famous and hotly debated is the mystery behind their location choice. These tombs are not placed on flat ground or inside easily accessible caves, but instead perch precariously on sheer cliff faces hundreds of meters above the ground. Transporting materials, coffins, and bodies to such heights, then securing them onto nearly vertical rock surfaces required extraordinary skill and coordination, especially given the limited tools and technology of the pre-Columbian era. This choice was not only a technical challenge, but also a profound question about the beliefs, purposes, and cultural values the Chachapoya placed upon the final resting place of their ancestors. When faced with tombs hanging precariously on nearly inaccessible cliffs, the biggest question archaeologists ask is, why did the Chachapoya choose a burial method that was both so dangerous and so labor-intensive? The answer remains unsettled, and the existing theories are largely speculative, each with gaps that are difficult to fill. The first theory focuses on protection from tomb robbers. In ancient societies, burial sites often contained valuable grave goods, from finely woven textiles and pottery to metal ornaments, making them prime targets for theft. By placing tombs in locations that even the strongest and bravest would struggle to reach, the Chachapoya may have created a natural barrier to safeguard the remains and the items within. However, the problem is that they could have chosen other secure locations, such as deep caves or low-hidden rock shelters, achieving the same goal without risking lives during construction. The second theory relates to religious beliefs, closer to the gods. For many Andean cultures, mountain peaks and the sky were sacred realms, home to divine beings. Raising the ancestors into the clouds could have been seen as helping their souls shorten the journey to the world of the gods. High tombs, bathed in the morning sun and often shrouded in mist, carried powerful symbolism of the transition from the earthly to the eternal. Yet the difficult question remains, if the goal was simply height and sanctity, why not choose flat mountain tops, equally high, safer, and easier to build on, instead of nearly vertical cliffs? The third theory leans toward territorial and political factors. Some researchers suggest that placing monumental tombs in impossible locations could have served as a statement of power. These structures would demonstrate the Chachapoya's organizational ability, technical skill, and communal strength. When enemies or neighboring tribes saw such impressive feats, they might be more cautious. However, there is currently no direct evidence to confirm that this was a deliberate deterrence strategy. The final theory has a spiritual aspect, protecting the soul from evil. In South American folk beliefs, the souls of the dead could be harassed by malevolent spirits or ill omens. Isolating tombs in remote, dangerous locations might have been a way to prevent such forces from reaching them. This theory is based mainly on comparisons with the customs of other indigenous groups in the region and thus lacks concrete evidence from the Chachapoya culture itself. All of these theories, while each holding a certain degree of plausibility, still fail to fully answer the larger question: what was so important that an entire community would pour in sweat strength and even risk their lives just to place their ancestors' tombs in places that almost no one could reach? This is the central enigma that makes the Chachapoya Cloud Tombs not only an archaeological site, but also a historical puzzle that remains unsolved. This mystery is deepened by the absence of original records. When the Inca conquered the Chachapoya in the 15th century, and later, when the Spanish arrived in the 16th century, much knowledge, legend, and ritual practice was lost. There are no direct written accounts from the Chachapoya. Most of what we know comes from indirect reports or archaeological observation. Today, many tombs remain untouched on cliff faces simply because the risk of reaching them is too high. This means countless secrets may still be hidden, perhaps intact artifacts, fully preserved mummies, or vital clues about the Chachapoya's beliefs and spiritual life. Modern archaeological projects, combining professional climbing drones and 3D scanning, are slowly opening a window into these mysteries, though progress is slow due to the need to preserve the sites. The existence of the Chachapoya Cloud Tombs raises not only questions of construction techniques, but also deeper issues. What are humans willing to do to preserve the memory and honor of their ancestors? What could be so important that they risked their lives just to place a tomb where it seemed impossible? Perhaps the answer will forever remain hidden somewhere in the cold mists of the Andes, among the cliffs that few dare to climb. At the foot of the arid Andes Mountains in the desert region, along the northern coast of Peru, lies one of the most mysterious and captivating monuments of the Moche civilization, Huaca de la Luna, also known as the Mausoleum of the Moon. Alongside its twin across the way, Huaca del Sol, the Pyramid of the Sun, this monumental complex has stood for over 1,500 years, witnessing the rise, peak, and eventual collapse of one of the most brilliant yet brutal pre-Columbian cultures of South America. What makes Huaca de la Luna remarkable is not only its massive stepped architecture, its vivid polychrome reliefs, or its blood-soaked sacrificial rituals, but also the enduring mystery surrounding the disappearance of the civilization that built it, a puzzle that continues to spark debate among archaeologists today. What do you think really caused the Moche civilization to disappear? Was it climate change, war disease, or something we haven't discovered yet? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your theories. Huaca de la Luna was built between the 1st and 8th centuries entirely from adobe bricks, sun-dried clay bricks characteristic of Peru's arid coastal region. What makes it remarkable is a construction method quite unlike many other ancient monuments. Instead of demolishing or directly renovating each generation of the Moche, when expanding or modifying the structure, would build an entirely new layer over the old one, covering and protecting the entire previous surface. This encasing method unintentionally created enormous time capsules, allowing the walls, reliefs, and murals inside to retain their vivid reds, yellows, whites, and blues, even after more than 1,500 years. As archaeologists peel back each architectural layer, it is as if they are turning the pages of a history book written in clay, vividly reconstructing each stage of the Moche civilization's development, from its early beginnings through its peak and into its period of decline. One of the most striking impressions upon entering Huaca de la Luna is the sight of reliefs and murals still glowing in vivid shades of red, yellow, white, and blue after more than 15 centuries. Among them, the image of the god Ayapayac, often called the decapitator god, stands out with a fierce face, sharp fangs, wide, glaring eyes, and hands clutching weapons, radiating both authority and menace. In the Moche worldview, Ayapayac was a dual-natured deity. On one hand, a protector of the community who granted rain and bountiful harvests. On the other, a harsh punisher who demanded human sacrifices to maintain cosmic balance and ensure prosperity. The murals here depict in detail defeated warriors being captured, their hands tightly bound, led through the crowd, and then executed in grand ceremonial rites before the ruling elite and priesthood. Archaeological excavations have confirmed these scenes. Numerous mass graves have been found containing the remains of young warriors, their bones bearing clear marks of cuts, heavy blows, and unmistakable evidence of binding before death. Huaca de la Luna was not only a religious ceremonial center, but also a burial place for spiritual leaders. This dual role reveals the close connection between religious and political power in Moche society. While Huaca del Sol is thought to have served as the administrative military hub, Huaca de la Luna was the spiritual heart linking the people to their gods. The two monuments were built facing each other, separated by an ancient settlement, and many scholars believe they symbolized a cosmic duality: sun, moon, male, female, war, ritual power, spirituality. Yet the question that troubles researchers most is not about architecture or sacrificial rites, but rather, why did such a complex, symbol-rich, and powerful civilization like the Moche collapse? And why was Huaca de la Luna, their sacred center, abandoned? Geological and archaeological studies show that between the 6th and 8th centuries, the northern coast of Peru experienced unprecedented climatic upheavals, primarily caused by the El Niño phenomenon. For months on end, intense torrential rains transformed the arid desert into a sea of mud, submerging and destroying the sophisticated irrigation canals that had sustained Moche agriculture. When the floods receded, the land was eroded, and many fields became unusable. This was followed by years of severe drought, depleting water sources and causing repeated crop failures. The combination of these two climatic extremes crippled the agricultural economy, plunging Moche society into severe food shortages and triggering far-reaching social consequences. In Moche society, religious authority relied entirely on the belief that spiritual leaders could communicate with the gods to ensure harvests and maintain cosmic balance. When successive disasters caused by El Niño, from devastating floods to prolonged droughts, destroyed farmland and ruined crops, the image of the god Ayapac as a protector began to waver. The perception that the god no longer sent rain or shielded the harvest eroded the people's faith in the priesthood. This collapse of belief quickly turned into discontent, sparking uprisings, factional conflicts, and civil wars, ultimately dismantling the social order that had endured for centuries. In addition to climate factors, many scholars believe the collapse of the Moche also stemmed from other equally severe causes. Prolonged flooding and environmental pollution may have created ideal conditions for disease outbreaks, which spread rapidly through densely populated settlements, causing a sharp decline in population. At the same time, groups migrating from the Andes highlands descended into the coastal plains, bringing pressure over resource competition and cultural conflicts. The combination of disease migration and environmental crisis formed a perfect storm that swept away the social structure, forcing the Moche to abandon major centers like Huaca de la Luna. Today, standing among the time-worn walls, looking up at reliefs still glowing in red, yellow, and white as they did 15 centuries ago, one cannot help but feel both awe and sorrow. Awe at the Moche's extraordinary craftsmanship, and sorrow that such a vibrant civilization could fall to the unstoppable forces of nature and time. Huaca de la Luna remains a silent yet powerful reminder that no civilization, no matter how glorious, is immune to the power of nature and the passage of time. Buried deep within Japan's ancient past lies a story where myth bleeds into history. A story of a ruler said to descend from the sun goddess herself, a man who marched across mountains and rivers to unite a nation under the banner of the divine. His name was Emperor Jimmu, the first emperor of Japan, the man who stands at the very beginning of the world's oldest continuous monarchy. Yet for all the centuries that have passed, one truth remains sealed in silence. Jimmu's tomb still lies untouched, guarded day and night. Untouched not by chance, but by royal decree. No archaeologist has set foot inside. No technology has been allowed to probe its depths. Whatever rests within remains hidden, perhaps forever. And so, the question lingers, is this the resting place of a man, a god, or the greatest secret in Japanese history? What do you think lies inside Emperor Jimmu's unopened tomb? Could it rewrite Japan's history or confirm the legend once and for all? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'm curious to hear your theory. According to the Kojiki and the Nihon Shoki, the two oldest historical mythological chronicles of Japan, Emperor Jimmu is regarded as a direct descendant of Amaterasu, the sun goddess and supreme deity in the Shinto faith. Specifically, he was the great-grandson of Ninigi no Mikoto, Amaterasu's grandson, who was sent down to the mortal realm, carrying the divine mandate to rule and maintain order in the world. Possessing this sacred bloodline not only made Jimmu the chosen one to unite the scattered clans across the Japanese archipelago, but also granted him absolute legitimacy from a religious perspective, where imperial authority and divine authority became one. According to legend, Jimmu set out from Kyushu, leading his forces across treacherous mountain ranges and great rivers, steadily advancing eastward. This long journey was not merely a military campaign. It was guided by sacred omens and the intervention of the gods. The climax came when he arrived in the Yamato region, which would later become the political and cultural heart of ancient Japan, and established his capital there, marking the beginning of the world's oldest continuous dynasty, which endures to this day. The tomb, believed to belong to Emperor Jimmu, is located in Kashihara, Nara Prefecture, in a tranquil area surrounded by a moat and ancient trees. From above it takes on the distinctive shape of a kofun, a massive keyhole-shaped burial mound that once symbolized the power of Japan's ancient aristocracy. The entire site is under the strictest protection of the Imperial Household Agency. Uniquely, no form of scientific survey is permitted, including non-invasive methods such as laser scanning or ground-penetrating radar. Even Japan's most prominent archaeologists have been denied access. The official reason given is to preserve the purity of the resting place and uphold traditions of reverence toward the imperial family. However, this absolute prohibition has turned Jimmu's tomb into one of the most mysterious imperial burials in the world, a gateway sealed by time, unopened for thousands of years. This is the very center of all debates, and the reason why the story of Emperor Jimmu has fascinated scholars, documentary filmmakers, and the public for decades. Japan is one of the very few countries whose national founding story is preserved through historical records filled with mythological elements, most notably the Kojiki and Nihon Shoki. In these texts, Jimmu is portrayed as a descendant of the sun goddess Amaterasu, bearing the divine mandate to rule and embarking on military conquests determined by omens and aided by supernatural forces. The bond between imperial authority and divine authority was carefully constructed, forming a foundation that was both religious and political for the Japanese imperial dynasty. However, from an archaeological and historical perspective, there is no physical evidence directly proving that Jimmu was a real individual. Many scholars believe he may have been an actual leader, or perhaps a coalition of tribal chiefs during the Yayoi period around 300 BCE. 300 CE, later deified to strengthen the legitimacy of the imperial family. On the other hand, some suggest that Jimmu is purely a mythical creation similar to Britain's King Arthur, a symbolic figure born from collective memory legend and the need to forge a national identity. If Jimmu's tomb were ever allowed to be excavated, it could provide answers that might change historical understanding. The true dating of the remains inside, would it match the traditional year of 1660 BCE as recorded in legend? Artifacts and tomb structure, would they reveal it as a Yayoi period burial or from the Kofun period, centuries later? Genetic data from bones or grave goods, could it determine whether Japan's founding ruler was truly descended from the indigenous population or had origins elsewhere in East Asia? Yet the very cannot be opened. Policy has turned all these questions into mysteries suspended between scientific hypothesis and legendary narrative. The truth lies within, but no one knows, and no one is allowed to know. This makes Jimmu's tomb not only a historical monument, but also a fragile boundary between what has been recorded and what has yet to be discovered. The Imperial Household Agency has always insisted that banning excavation is to protect the sanctity and spirituality of the tomb. It is not only the resting place of a king, but also a sacred site tied to the Shinto faith. However, many international scholars and historians suspect the policy is also meant to preserve the continuity of the founding myth. If archaeological results revealed contradictions to the tradition, for instance that Jimmu lived centuries later or had a different origin, it could undermine a key symbolic foundation of the Japanese monarchy. Interestingly, it is not only Jimmu's tomb, but also most ancient imperial Kofun tombs in Japan that face strict excavation bans. This is a near-unique phenomenon in modern archaeology, where most royal tombs of other ancient civilizations have been at least partially studied. Emperor Jimmu exists at a unique crossroads between history and myth. Whether he was a real person or a collective symbol, his role in Japanese culture is irreplaceable, a ruler sent from the heavens, bearing a divine mandate and founding a lineage considered sacred. His unopened tomb has over time become a dual symbol. For the people and Shinto believers, it is the untouchable resting place of a god-king. For scientists, it is a sealed gateway between hypothesis and truth. Perhaps that is why the story of Emperor Jimmu is told again and again, not because of what we know, but because of what we do not know. And somewhere beneath the layers of earth covering his tomb, there may still lie secrets powerful enough to rewrite a part of Japan's history. High in the rugged heart of the Andes, where the air is thin and the mountains pierce the sky, whispers speak of a tomb lost to time, a sacred resting place hidden among cliffs and clouds, said to belong to Manco Cápac, the legendary founder of Cusco and the first ruler of the Inca Empire. This mountain sanctuary is more than a burial site. It is a riddle carved in stone, a place where myth and history intertwine, and where unlocking its secrets could rewrite everything we know about one of the greatest civilizations in the ancient world. If the mountain tomb of the first Inca were ever found, do you think it should be opened to uncover its secrets, or left untouched to preserve its mystery? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The Inca believed in a universe divided into three realms: Hanan Pacha, the upper world home of the gods and ancestors; Kai Pacha, the present world of humans and living beings; and Uku Pacha, the underworld associated with death and rebirth. In their view, towering mountains were the natural bridges connecting these realms, allowing souls to move between them. Therefore, choosing a sacred mountain peak as the burial site for Manco Cápac, the founding king of the empire, was not only a way to prevent intrusion by enemies, but also carried deep spiritual meaning, bringing his soul closer to Inti, the sun god and supreme deity of the Inca. The location believed to house the tomb is renowned for its treacherous terrain, sheer cliffs, narrow gorges, and trails hidden in thick mist, making access a major challenge even for locals. Moreover, the local community rarely reveals the route, believing the site is protected by APU's sacred mountain spirits, ready to punish anyone who approaches without proper ritual respect. Inca legend tells that Manco Cápac and his sister Mama Oclo were sent by the sun god Inti from Lake Titicaca, carrying a golden staff as a divine sign. They journeyed across vast valleys and the majestic Andes Mountains until the staff sank deep into the ground at Cusco, signaling that this would become the center of the world. After his death, Manco Cápac was believed to have returned to the gods, and his body was laid to rest in a secret mountain tomb. Records from the Spanish conquest describe a magnificent golden tomb, protected by charms and accessible only to high-ranking priests. Yet modern archaeological efforts have found no concrete evidence of its existence. This gap between legend and reality has made the tomb one of the greatest mysteries of Inca civilization, where even the smallest clue is enough to ignite curiosity and inspire daring quests. If the mountain tomb of the first Inca truly exists, what would astonish archaeologists the most is how it was built. The Inca were renowned for their ashlar masonry stone blocks, cut with near-perfect precision, fitted so tightly that not even a thin blade could slip between the joints, built entirely without mortar, yet standing for centuries and withstanding powerful earthquakes. However, applying this technique on a steep mountainside where strong winds, heavy rains, and harsh weather prevail year-round would be a challenge far beyond anything seen in Cusco or Machu Picchu. Imagine multi-ton stones being hauled upward along narrow, slippery mountain paths, then placed with millimeter accuracy to form a structure capable of resisting both gravity and landslides. Some theories suggest the Inca may have used long inclined ramps or wooden pulley systems to move the stones, but physical evidence is virtually absent. Other scholars have questioned whether they employed a stone softening technique mentioned in local legend, using a special herbal mixture that made the rock surface malleable and easy to shape before hardening again as before. If true, this would be an unverified technological secret. Many speculate the tomb's design could include multiple interconnected underground chambers linked by hidden passageways with stones cut into complex polygonal shapes to lock tightly together. This method not only increased durability, but also helped distribute structural stress, allowing the monument to endure for centuries in such a perilous environment. If this tomb were to be discovered and excavated, it could conceal a priceless treasure of gold, silver, exquisite ritual objects, and quipu, the unique knotted cord system used by the Inca to record information. These artifacts would hold not only material and religious value, but also serve as vivid evidence of the early stages of the Inca Empire, a period we currently know only through legend. They could reveal how the Inca organized their society, managed their economy, and maintained their theocratic power. To this day, all search efforts have failed to pinpoint the exact location of the tomb, partly because the Andes are treacherous, with sheer cliffs, deep gorges, and harsh weather, and partly because the local Quechua people guard the secrecy of their sacred sites. In their belief, disturbing or excavating the tomb could disrupt the spiritual balance between humans and the mountain gods, bringing misfortune to the entire community. This silence, preserved through oral traditions over generations, has turned the mountain tomb of the first Inca into a paradox, both a potential archaeological treasure and an untouchable spiritual symbol, where the line between science and faith remains blurred and full of challenges. The greatest question remains unanswered. Does the mountain tomb of the first Inca truly exist, or is it merely the product of a collective imagination nurtured over centuries? Advances in LiDAR terrain, scanning, and ground-penetrating radar have sparked hope of finding traces of this structure, but for now, everything remains in the realm of speculation. Until definitive evidence emerges, the story will continue to live on in the minds of explorers, archaeologists, and mystery enthusiasts, an endless invitation to a land where legend and truth intertwine. Hidden deep within the world's largest desert, far from any road or trace of modern life, lies a colossal circle etched into the earth with almost unnatural precision. From above it, looks like the blueprint of a lost metropolis, geometric lines and perfect angles nested inside a flawless ring. Scientists can't agree, is this the scar of an ancient meteorite, strike a quirk of geology, or the last surviving footprint of a civilization swallowed by the sands thousands of years ago? Whatever its origin, this symmetrical crater city in the heart of Chad is rewriting what we thought we knew about the Sahara's past. What do you think is hiding behind this perfect desert circle? The mark of a cosmic collision, nature's strange artistry, or the blueprint of a long-lost civilization? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your theory. From satellite imagery, the area appears as an almost perfect circle, its clear outline contrasting against the surrounding golden sand. The diameter is estimated at hundreds of meters, possibly even kilometers, depending on the measurement criteria. But the most striking feature is not just the circle itself, it's the structure within grids and rectangular square shapes laid out like an urban plan. In nature, circles can form from meteorite impacts, volcanic activity, or erosion, but the combination of a large circle with neatly shaped internal squares is extremely rare. That's why, ever since its discovery through satellite images, the site has been the center of countless debates. The circle lies in northern Chad, one of the driest parts of the Sahara. Summer temperatures can exceed 50 degrees C with annual rainfall nearly zero, making survival here extremely challenging. Its great distance from modern settlements and lack of infrastructure mean few direct survey expeditions have reached it. As a result, most current knowledge comes from satellite imagery, from Google Earth, NASA's observation satellites, to cloud-penetrating radar. Assessments of its structure, scale, and origin remain speculative. The debate over the origins of the symmetrical crater city of Chad is at the very heart of what makes it one of the most intriguing mysteries for scientists and explorers alike. From the moment this structure was first identified through satellite imagery, three major hypotheses have emerged, each supported by its own reasoning. Yet none has been able to claim definitive proof. According to this view, the massive circle with its clearly defined rim is the remnant of a meteorite impact that occurred millions of years ago. The powerful strike gouged deep into the ground, creating an almost perfectly round crater. Over time, the winds and sands of the Sahara filled and eroded its original features, giving it its present-day appearance. This theory accounts for the circular form and the even perimeter, but it runs into a difficult question. If it is purely a natural phenomenon, why are there straight lines and right angles inside features typically associated with human construction? This is the approach that most excites archaeologists. In this scenario, the structure could be the remains of an ancient city or settlement built when the Sahara was still lush and fertile with rivers and lakes. The layout inside the circle, with its grid-like divisions, squares, and rectangles, suggests building foundations, defensive walls, or street networks. The outer circle might have served as a fortification wall or moat, while the inner zones could have been residential areas, storage facilities, or religious monuments. If this hypothesis is correct, the biggest questions are who built it and when. Climate evidence indicates that 5,000 to 10,000 years ago, the Sahara had a much wetter climate, suitable for agriculture and permanent habitation, an ideal setting for a mysterious civilization to flourish. Some cautious geologists believe it could be the result of subsurface magma activity or a concentric erosion process that accidentally created a symmetrical circular shape. The straight lines inside might simply be geological fault lines that coincidentally align with ancient wind or water flow patterns, giving the illusion of planned construction when viewed from above. However, the weakness of this hypothesis is its inability to explain the near-perfect symmetry and precision of the right angles, something rarely found in natural formations. It is the sharp contrast between these three hypotheses that has made the symmetrical crater city of Chad a hotspot for debate in research circles. Not only is it striking in its perfection, but it also seems to send us a message from a distant past. Could the Sahara once have been home to a secret that modern science has yet to uncover? The debate over the origins of the symmetrical crater city of Chad remains unresolved, mainly due to three major obstacles. First, there has been no comprehensive on-site survey to collect samples or direct structural evidence, leaving all hypotheses at the level of speculation. Second, its remote location in the Sahara, combined with harsh climate, lack of infrastructure, and border security risks, has hindered large-scale expeditions. Third, while satellite imagery is useful, it cannot reveal material composition, age, or traces of human activity. If the ancient city hypothesis is correct, the symmetrical crater city of Chad would become one of the greatest archaeological discoveries in the Sahara, on par with the unearthing of Egypt's buried cities or the ancient stoneworks of Mauritania. It could provide direct evidence for the existence of a previously unknown Saharan civilization, opening up new perspectives on the region's history. In addition, sediment samples and artifacts could reveal the climatic transformation from a lush, river-rich Sahara to today's arid desert, while mapping ancient trade routes and migration paths. If the meteorite theory is correct, this site would be a rare research location, offering deeper insight into Earth's formation history and the impacts of cosmic collisions. To unravel the mystery of the symmetrical crater city of Chad, experts believe a series of in-depth research steps is essential. First comes a detailed on-site survey, including precise mapping, collecting rock and soil samples for analysis, and determining age through carbon dating or radioactive isotope methods. Next is the use of LiDAR technology to scan beneath the sand layers and recreate a 3D model of what lies hidden below the surface. Equally important is international cooperation, both to share data and to ensure the safety of research expeditions. Until such studies are carried out, this mystery will remain a blur on the scientific map, fueling curiosity while challenging every theory. High in the rugged skies of southeastern Turkey, at more than 2,000 meters above sea level, stands a mountain crowned with giants. Here, colossal stone heads, half Greek, half Persian, stare silently over the horizon, their gaze fixed for over 2 millennia. But among the myths carved into this summit lies a mystery even more compelling: the lost tomb of King Antiochus the Theos. Hidden beneath an immense man-made mound, this legendary resting place has defied every archaeologist's attempt to reach it. For over 2,000 years, storms, earthquakes, and the passage of empires have left it untouched. Was it genius engineering, an unyielding landscape, or the king's own design that sealed it forever? Whatever the truth, Mount Nemrut remains not just a monument, but a challenge, daring the modern world to uncover what sleeps beneath its stones. What do you think truly lies beneath the massive stone mound of Mount Nemrut? Share your theories or guesses in the comments below. Who knows, your answer might come closer to the 2,000-year-old secret than anyone has before. In the 1st century BCE, Antiochus the Theos ruled the kingdom of Commagene, a strategic land between the Roman Empire and Parthia, where Eastern and Western cultures converged. Driven by the ambition to unite these two civilizations, he worshipped the Greek gods while preserving the Persian heritage. To affirm his power and desire for immortality, Antiochus commissioned the construction of a temple tomb complex atop Mount Nemrut, visible from dozens of kilometers away. At its heart stood a colossal mound of loose stones, about 50 meters high and 150 meters wide, believed to cover his burial chamber. Surrounding it were 3 terraces to the east, west, and north, each lined with statues of gods and the king himself, towering 8 to 9 meters high, their presence as commanding as the deities they depicted. Carved into stone slabs were reliefs of Antiochus shaking hands with the gods, an eternal declaration that he stood at the boundary between mortal and divine. At the heart of Mount Nemrut's mystery lies the massive man-made mound of rubble at its summit. This is not a natural hill, but a gigantic cone built from hundreds of thousands of small stones packed tightly together as if forming an impregnable fortress. Ancient belief holds that beneath this layer of stone rests the burial chamber of King Antiochus III, where he lies surrounded by treasures and lavish funerary rites. What makes this structure truly remarkable is its incredibly sophisticated stone-laying technique. The small stones are packed so tightly that any attempt to excavate could trigger a chain collapse, destroying everything inside. They are not bound with mortar, making access as perilous as tunneling through a giant sand dune, difficult to control and fraught with danger. Adding to this, the steep slope and an estimated weight of tens of thousands of tons exert enormous pressure, turning any attempt to penetrate the mound into an extremely hazardous endeavor. Since its rediscovery in 1881 by German archaeologist Carl Sester, Mount Nemrut has become the focus of numerous international survey teams hoping to locate the entrance to the tomb. However, every plan for direct excavation has been halted, shifting efforts toward non-invasive methods. Ground-penetrating radar (GPR) has detected certain structural anomalies beneath the mound, but it remains impossible to confirm whether these are indeed the burial chamber. Laser scanning combined with 3D modeling has recorded the external form in great detail, yet revealed no trace of an entrance. Seismic imaging suggests the possible existence of voids inside, but lacks definitive evidence. Several factors make excavation nearly impossible. The risk of the entire mound collapsing if approached incorrectly. Turkish heritage laws strictly prohibiting any actions that might damage the UNESCO World Heritage Site. And the harsh summit conditions, heavy winter snow, and strong summer winds, which allow for only a very limited survey season. Many scholars believe that Antiochus I intentionally designed Mount Nemrut as an impregnable structure meant to safeguard his immortality and reputation from any intruding force. In the religious mindset of the ancient world, disturbing a king's final resting place was not only an act of sacrilege, but was also believed to bring disaster upon the entire community. To reinforce this, Antiochus had stone inscriptions known as nomos, carved with detailed religious laws and ceremonial rites, while emphasizing the protection of the summit as an eternal sacred site. This indicates that Mount Nemrut was not merely a tomb, but also a long-standing ceremonial center where descendants and subjects would carry out ritual offerings, preserving the spiritual connection between the king, the gods, and the kingdom for generations. To this day, the tomb on Mount Nemrut remains untouchable due to a combination of nearly insurmountable obstacles. First, the rubble mound was built using an anti-excavation technique, meaning any attempt to penetrate it could trigger a chain collapse, completely destroying the internal structure. The original entrance has never been identified and may have been buried or cleverly concealed. In addition, Turkish heritage laws and UNESCO's strict regulations prioritize preserving the site in its original state, prohibiting any risky attempts to open the tomb. More importantly, an unprepared excavation could result in the permanent loss of priceless archaeological evidence, erasing a secret that has endured for thousands of years. Today, Mount Nemrut is a major tourist and pilgrimage destination. Visitors come not only to witness the mythical sunrise and sunset, but to stand before the colossal statues and wonder, is Antiochus I truly buried beneath those millions of stones? If one day the tomb is opened, how will it change our understanding of Commagene? Until that day, the unopened tomb of Mount Nemrut remains one of the greatest archaeological riddles, a perfect fusion of ancient engineering and a king's will for eternal protection, defying both time and human ambition. Hidden among the white clouds and majestic mountains of the Andes, Machu Picchu has long stood as a symbol of the Inca civilization, a structure both magnificent and enigmatic. Perched at an altitude of nearly 430 meters above sea level, it was built around the 15th century during the golden age of the Inca Empire under Emperor Pachacuti. Constructed entirely of stone, without mortar, with blocks fitted so precisely that not even a thin blade can be inserted between them, Machu Picchu has remained steadfast for over 500 years, enduring earthquakes, torrential rains, and the passage of time. What makes Machu Picchu remarkable is not just its inaccessible location or the superior construction techniques, but also a question that has fueled endless debate among scholars. What was Machu Picchu truly built for? What do you think? Was Machu Picchu a royal retreat, a sacred sanctuary, an astronomical observatory, or something far more extraordinary that history has yet to reveal? Share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective. From a distance, Machu Picchu appears like a stone oasis floating in a sea of white clouds surrounded by sheer mountain cliffs and with the winding Urubamba River far below. This location not only creates a breathtaking landscape, but also offers two clear strategic advantages. It was nearly impregnable to any attack and completely isolated from the empire's main trade and military routes. Such seclusion turned Machu Picchu into a secret city, so much so that even when the Spanish conquered the entire Inca Empire, they had no idea it existed. This absolute ability to hide spared Machu Picchu from destruction, preserving it far more intact than many other Inca sites for hundreds of years. The Incas, despite lacking wheels for transportation or steel tools for cutting stone, were able to move massive blocks weighing tens of tons across the steep and treacherous terrain of the Andes. They employed the ashlar technique, meticulously shaping each stone's surface so that it fit perfectly with its neighbors, to the point where not even a thin blade could be inserted into the joints. This mortarless construction method allowed the structures to withstand hundreds of earthquakes over more than 500 years. In addition, the carefully engineered system of terraces and water channels not only created stable agricultural land, but also ensured rapid drainage, prevented erosion, and maintained a year-round supply of fresh water. This stands as clear evidence of the Incas' advanced engineering skills and profound understanding of geology and hydrology, surpassing many civilizations of their time. Among all the factors that make Machu Picchu one of the most mysterious sites in the world, the biggest question remains, what was this place built for? Even after more than a century since its rediscovery and decades of excavation and research, archaeologists have yet to reach a consensus. Three major theories are often mentioned. First, Machu Picchu may have been the summer palace of Emperor Pachacuti, a lavish retreat hidden deep in the mountains where the king and his court could escape the harsh climate of Cusco. The site's layout, with residential quarters plazas, agricultural terraces, and an advanced water system, fits the image of a royal estate perfectly. Second, there is strong evidence that it could have been a religious ceremonial center. Structures such as the Temple of the Sun, the Temple of the Three Windows, and the Intihuatana stone, believed to be an astronomical instrument, or solar clock, reflect the Inca belief system centered on deities linked to the sun, moon, and natural phenomena. The discovery of numerous ceremonial artifacts further strengthens this theory. Third, Machu Picchu may have served as an astronomical agricultural observatory. The site's architectural alignment corresponds precisely with celestial events such as the solstices and equinoxes, enabling the Inca to track the movements of the sun, moon, and constellations to determine the agricultural calendar. a remarkable blend of science and religion. What is peculiar is that all three theories have supporting evidence, yet none is conclusive. The fact that Machu Picchu was abandoned without any signs of warfare or destruction deepens the mystery. If it was a palace, why was it never reused? If it was a religious center, why did the rituals cease entirely? And if it was an observatory, why choose such a remote location far from the empire's political heart? Perhaps it is this very ambiguity that has turned Machu Picchu into a historical riddle without an answer, a place that draws every visitor to witness it firsthand and search for their own explanation. Machu Picchu does not disrupt its surroundings. It appears to grow organically from the mountainside. The terraces not only served agricultural purposes, but also stabilized the soil and prevented landslides. The water channels ingeniously harnessed the natural slope to bring fresh spring water down to the settlement. This careful planning shows the Incas' deep understanding of geography, climate, and hydrology, transforming nature into an integral part of the architecture. Ironically, Machu Picchu survived almost completely intact for centuries, not because it was protected, but because it was forgotten. When American explorer Hiram Bingham rediscovered it in 1911, the site had been silent for hundreds of years, swallowed by jungle, with its pathways and structures covered in vines and moss. Strikingly, there is no record that the Spanish ever set foot in Machu Picchu, prompting researchers to ask a series of questions. Was the city abandoned before they arrived? Or was it a secret location known only to a small group of Incas, later fading entirely from the collective memory of the empire? Today, Machu Picchu is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of the new 7 wonders of the world. It draws millions of visitors each year, not only for its breathtaking beauty, but also for the unsolved mystery of its original purpose. Although archaeologists continue to excavate and study it, Machu Picchu may always keep a part of its secret, allowing every visitor to feel as if they have stepped into an ancient story still waiting to be fully told. Beneath the crystal-clear waters of the Bahamas, just a few hundred meters off North Bimini Island, lies a strange stone formation that has puzzled scientists, divers, and legend enthusiasts for over half a century: Bimini Road. This is not a coral reef, nor a typical rocky shoal. Instead, it is a chain of large, flat stone blocks arranged in a strip stretching nearly 800 meters in shallow water, looking exactly like a giant paved road leading somewhere into the past. And it is precisely this man-made-like appearance that has made Bimini Road the focus of countless theories, from archaeology and geology to the realm of the mysterious. So, what do you think? Is Bimini Road just a stunning natural formation? Or could it truly be the work of an ancient civilization? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your theories. The most striking feature of Bimini Road is its stone block structure. These are massive limestone slabs, some over 4 meters long, 2 to 3 meters wide, and about 1 meter thick, with flat surfaces, straight or slightly curved edges laid closely together to form a regular strip. When diving down and viewing from an angle, it feels very much like looking at an ancient stone road or a harbor that sank thousands of years ago. In fact, some blocks are nearly square with sharp edges, making it hard for many to believe they are merely natural formations. What makes Bimini Road so visually compelling is not just the presence of large flat slabs, but the way many of them seem purposefully arranged. In several sections, the stones are not simply lying side by side. They are stacked or fitted in what appear to be interlocking patterns reminiscent of ancient masonry techniques used to enhance structural stability. The spacing between blocks is often surprisingly uniform, and in certain stretches, The slabs align into straight, deliberate-looking lines, some running parallel, others intersecting at near-perfect right angles. Such geometric order feels at odds with the randomness of natural rock formation, giving the site an undeniable architectural quality. These patterns spark speculation that Bimini Road could once have been part of a significant human-built structure, perhaps a coastal road linking settlements, a seawall designed to protect against waves, or even the foundation of an ancient harbor now claimed by the sea. This unique formation first came to the world's attention in 1968 when two local divers, after a recreational dive, reported seeing a road under the sea near North Bimini Island. The news immediately caught the attention of researchers, especially because of an uncanny coincidence with a famous prophecy psychic. Edgar Cayce once predicted that a portion of Atlantis will rise near Bimini in the late 1960s, and indeed, not long after Bimini Road was discovered. The event became the perfect puzzle piece for those who believe in the Atlantis legend, suggesting this might be a surviving remnant of the lost civilization. When the initial excitement over its supposed mystical origins was set aside, scientists turned to careful, methodical investigation of Bimini Road. Many geologists concluded that the formation is not a remnant of human construction at all, but an example of beach rock, a natural process in which sand coral fragments and seashells are gradually cemented into solid limestone by minerals in seawater. Over thousands of years, these rock sheets can fracture along straight angular lines due to tectonic stress, temperature changes, and tidal forces, breaking into large flat slabs that strikingly resemble paving stones. Subsequent erosion by waves and currents can shift and expose these slabs, sometimes arranging them into neat, road-like patterns that give the illusion of deliberate human design, even though they may be entirely natural in origin. Despite the geological explanation, many remain unconvinced. Seasoned archaeologists and experienced divers have documented blocks within Bimini Road that appear to bear tenons and mortise holes, precise joinery features typical of ancient stonework used to lock heavy slabs securely in place. Such details are difficult to dismiss as random fractures, especially when paired with the striking regularity in size, shape, and alignment of many stones. To those who have observed the site firsthand, the arrangement feels intentional, as if shaped by deliberate human design rather than by the slow, chaotic forces of nature alone, leaving the natural origin theory open to serious doubt. The true fascination of Bimini Road lies beyond the debate of whether it is natural or man-made. It's the haunting what-if that captures the imagination. If it truly bears the mark of human craftsmanship, then whose hands shaped it, in what distant age, and for what reason? Was it once a ceremonial causeway leading to a sacred site, now lost beneath the waves, or a massive harbor wall sheltering ships of a forgotten seafaring culture? And if the whispers of a link to Atlantis hold even a fragment of truth, could these silent stones be one of the last tangible traces of an advanced civilization deliberately or tragically erased from human memory? To this day, even with the help of advanced technology, from high-resolution sonar scans and underwater 3D mapping to detailed petrographic analysis of rock samples, the mystery of Bimini Road remains unresolved. Geological studies of fossils and sediments embedded in the slabs indicate they formed thousands of years ago, during an era when sea levels were significantly lower than today. This finding opens an intriguing possibility. If humans played a role in shaping or arranging these stones, the structure would once have stood proudly on dry land or hugged the shoreline, serving an unknown purpose. before the relentless rise of the ocean claimed it forever. Today, Bimini Road is a captivating destination for both professional divers and adventurous tourists. The water here is so clear that even while swimming on the surface, you can faintly see the blocks below, giving the sensation of gliding over a road leading to a lost world. For those passionate about underwater archaeology, this is an unfinished puzzle piece of history, challenging yet irresistibly intriguing. And it is precisely the stone-paved road-like structure that has set Bimini Road apart from ordinary geological phenomena. It is regular enough to evoke the hand of humanity, yet random enough to make scientists cautious about drawing conclusions. Whether the product of nature or the work of a vanished civilization, Bimini Road still lies there silent beneath the Caribbean Sea, a gigantic riddle humanity has yet to fully solve. Nestled in the arid deserts of northwestern New Mexico, Chaco Canyon stands as one of the most impressive archaeological sites in pre-Columbian America. For over 300 years, from the 9th to the 12th century, it was not just a settlement, but also the ceremonial, commercial, and astronomical center of the ancient Pueblo people. Its massive stone architecture, vast network of straight roads, and precise alignments with celestial events have led many researchers to call Chaco Canyon a sacred city of the North American natives. Yet behind this grandeur lies an unanswered question. Why did such a thriving civilization vanish almost overnight? What do you think really happened to Chaco Canyon? Was it drought conflict, a shift in beliefs, or something we haven't yet discovered? Share your theories in the comments below. I'm curious to hear your perspective. One of the clearest proofs of Chaco Canyon's remarkable advancement is its massive stone architecture built by the ancient Pueblo people with near-perfect precision. The most iconic example is Pueblo Bonito, a D-shaped great house with more than 600 rooms rising 4 to 5 stories high, regarded as the largest and most prominent structure in the area. Its walls were assembled from hundreds of thousands of sandstone slabs bound with mud mortar, forming surfaces so straight and uniform that they still astonish archaeologists today. However, Pueblo Bonito and similar structures were not merely residential spaces. Inside, they contained numerous kivas, circular subterranean chambers serving as sacred spaces for religious ceremonies, the telling of traditional stories, and community meetings. The arrangement of these kivas, along with the precise orientation of the entire complex, reflects a level of planning and social organization on par with the great civilizations of its time. One of the most striking features of Chaco Canyon is its system of straight roads stretching for dozens of kilometers across hills, canyons, and rugged terrain without any curves. These roads connected the Chaco core to satellite settlements and even distant natural landmarks, forming a vast network rarely seen in pre-Columbian North America. Notably, many of these routes are up to 9 meters wide, far exceeding the needs of foot travel or any known transport methods of the time. For this reason, many scholars believe they were not simply for transportation, but may have been ceremonial roads used for processions or spiritual journeys, or constructed as astronomical alignments marking celestial events. The combination of engineering skill, precise planning, and symbolic meaning makes this road system one of Chaco Canyon's most fascinating mysteries. Many stone structures and buildings in Chaco Canyon are aligned with astonishing precision to significant astronomical events such as the summer solstice, winter solstice, and the moon's 18.6-year cycle. The most famous example is the Sun Dagger atop Fajada Butte. 3 massive slabs create a narrow slit through which sunlight passes, striking a spiral petroglyph carved into the rock. On the summer solstice, a single shaft of light pierces the spiral's center. On the winter solstice, two parallel beams frame it. This remarkable precision shows that the ancient Pueblo people not only observed the sky, but also integrated astronomical knowledge into their architecture, transforming their structures into instruments for measuring time and marking sacred moments. In the context of North America at the time, this was extraordinarily rare, reflecting a profound connection between humans and the cosmos in both spiritual and social life. Archaeological excavations reveal that Chaco Canyon once thrived as a major trade hub, connecting an immense network that spanned thousands of kilometers across the continent. From the turquoise mines of the American Southwest to seashells carried from the Pacific coast, from cacao pods cultivated in the tropics to the vivid scarlet feathers of macaws brought from Central America, all found their way into Chaco's great houses. Such discoveries prove that this settlement was far from isolated. Instead, it stood at the crossroads of a vast economic and cultural system. Here, goods, ideas, and beliefs flowed together, elevating Chaco to a level rivaling the greatest ancient trade centers in the world. At its peak, from 1050 to 1150 CE, Chaco Canyon was the irreplaceable heart of the ancient Pueblo world, a place where colossal great houses stood tall as symbols of power. Endless ceremonial roads stitched together, the desert and religious rituals united communities spread across hundreds of kilometers. Yet within just a century, this vibrant center was almost completely abandoned. The cause of such a rapid and total collapse remains one of archaeology's greatest mysteries. Environmental evidence, from tree ring data to lake sediments, reveals a prolonged and severe drought in the late 12th century, a fatal blow to a land already parched. At the same time, centuries of population expansion had stripped surrounding forests for building materials, exhausted fragile farmland, and disrupted ecological balance. Traces of violence found at some sites suggest possible internal conflict, perhaps due to scarce resources or the weakening of political religious authority. If faith in Chaco's ceremonial system wavered during this crisis, the very glue binding society together could have dissolved. Some scholars even propose the possibility of disease carried along the very trade routes that once brought wealth to Chaco, now turned into pathways of disaster. Most researchers agree there was no single cause. Instead, multiple pressures converged to create a perfect storm that the Chaco people could not withstand. When they left for good. The grand avenues led to nowhere. The kivas echoed with emptiness, and the sun dagger still marked the solstices, as before, its light falling on stone, with no eyes left to see it. Today, Chaco Canyon is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, drawing archaeologists, astronomers, and travelers from around the globe. Despite the recovery of hundreds of thousands of artifacts, the full story remains elusive. The mystery of Chaco's decline evokes both admiration and melancholy. It is a reminder that even the most sophisticated and knowledgeable societies can vanish when faced with changes beyond their ability to adapt. Thus, Chaco Canyon is not merely an archaeological site. It is a historical mirror reflecting the fragile bond between humanity, the environment, and belief systems. In the desert winds that sweep past its crumbling stone walls, one might still hear the faint echoes of a civilization that quietly left history's stage, leaving behind one of North America's most captivating enigmas. High on the windswept Bolivian altiplano, where the air is thin and the horizon seems endless, lies a place wrapped in legend and unanswered questions, the ancient city of Tiwanaku. This was once the beating heart of a powerful civilization, a hub of politics, religion, and art that flourished long before the rise of the Inca. Today, its once mighty temples and plazas stand as silent stone witnesses to a past we can barely glimpse. Yet among these weathered ruins, one monument commands the gaze more than any other: a massive solitary arch, carved from a single block of stone, known to the world as the Gate of the Sun. It is more than an entrance. It is a riddle in stone, hinting at forgotten knowledge and a cosmic vision that transcends time. What do you think the Gate of the Sun was truly meant for? Was it a ceremonial portal, an astronomical marker, or something entirely beyond our understanding? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective might unlock a new angle to this enduring mystery. The Gate of the Sun is not merely a simple stone block with a rectangular passageway. It is a symbolic monument carved from a single solid block of andesite, weighing about 10 tons, standing over 3 meters high and more than 4 meters wide. Remarkably, the entire block was cut with near-perfect precision, smooth, flat surfaces, crisp edges, balanced proportions, and clear, evenly executed relief carvings. This level of craftsmanship raises a profound question for researchers. What tools, techniques, and methods did the Tiwanaku people use to cut, transport, and erect such a massive stone on the Altiplano Plateau at over 3,800 meters above sea level under harsh climatic conditions thousands of years ago? It remains a technical mystery without a complete answer. At the center of the Gate of the Sun's facade stands a prominent relief believed to depict Viracocha, the supreme creator deity in Andean mythology, with a stern face and a headdress radiating beams of light or sun-like rays. Surrounding him are 24 smaller figures arranged symmetrically, each with distinct appearances and actions. Some hold staffs or objects resembling ceremonial weapons, while others bear bird or animal features, suggesting a connection between the human-animal and divine realms. These motifs are carved with high precision and appear to follow a strict underlying order. Many researchers believe they represent not only religious symbolism, but also a sophisticated astronomical calendar, reflecting the cycles of the Sun or Venus, used to mark time, agricultural seasons, and important Tiwanaku ceremonies. The most debated and captivating mystery of the Gate of the Sun does not lie in its craftsmanship or intricate carvings, but in its origin and original location. Today, the monument stands alone, in the Tiwanaku site, completely detached from any surrounding structures, as if it had been placed here after being removed from a larger complex. This anomaly has led many scholars to believe that the gate is not in its original position. They wonder, was it once part of a ceremonial complex or a temple aligned with astronomical events, later moved by natural disasters, warfare, or for some other reason that history has since erased? One widely supported theory among researchers suggests that the Gate of the Sun was once part of a larger, more elaborate structure, possibly a sun temple or an important ceremonial architectural complex. Over time, geological upheavals such as earthquakes, the harsh erosion of the highland climate, or human intervention caused most of the structure to collapse or be dismantled. Thanks to being carved from a massive single block of stone, the gate remains standing, surviving to this day as a rare remnant of the entire lost construction. Some archaeologists point out that the rear surface of the gate shows signs of breakage, as if it was once attached to a wall or another stone structure. This further supports the theory that the Gate of the Sun was never designed to stand alone in an open space. Furthermore, the Tiwanaku were known for their sophisticated urban planning, often aligning their structures to precise astronomical axes. The fact that such a symbolic monument now stands in a position unrelated to the sunrise or sunset is highly unusual. It may have been moved from its original coordinates, but how and why? Several theories have been proposed to explain why the Gate of the Sun now stands alone in Tiwanaku rather than as part of a larger architectural complex. The first theory suggests that intense geological activity, particularly earthquakes on the Altiplano, destroyed the original structure. In that case, the gate may have toppled and shifted from its original foundation, later being re-erected by local inhabitants or successor civilizations at its current location without following the original orientation and design. The second theory points to the possibility of deliberate dismantling. After the Tiwanaku civilization declined, their successors or invading groups may have dismantled structures to reuse the stone for construction or rituals, with the Gate of the Sun preserved for its special symbolic value and placed in a new location as a marker of power or faith. The boldest theory of all suggests that the gate did not originally belong to Tiwanaku at all, but was transported from an even older site belonging to a pre-Tiwanaku civilization. If true, it could be the legacy of a far more mysterious society whose stoneworking techniques and symbolic systems have been completely lost. Each theory opens a new path of research, yet none has been fully proven, leaving the mystery of the Gate of the Sun's relocation an unanswered question in archaeology. Not knowing the gate's original location makes all interpretations complex. If it was once part of a structure aligned to astronomical events, its relocation would distort all observational data. Conversely, if its current location is original, we must explain why the Tiwanaku chose to place such an important religious astronomical symbol in a spot seemingly unconnected to other monuments. This ambiguity creates a historical gap, and it is precisely this gap that compels both researchers and the public to keep searching for answers. Every detail, from cracks in the stone weathering patterns to the arrangement of carvings, could hold the key to a story buried for millennia. Even without certainty about its origin and placement, the Gate of the Sun remains a testament to the skill, artistry, and cosmic vision of the Tiwanaku people. It combines monolithic architecture, intricate carving, and profound religious astronomical thought. For the modern world, it is not just an archaeological relic, but a symbol of the connection between humanity and the cosmos. Looking at the Gate of the Sun, we see not only stone and carvings, but also an unfinished story, one that each generation attempts to continue drawing from the few clues that remain. Perhaps one day, we will discover where it originally stood, why it was built, and the true message the Tiwanaku stonemasons intended. Until then, it will remain silent, majestic, and mysterious, a challenge to human curiosity. Beneath the endless golden dunes of Oman's Rub al-Khali, the empty quarter where life seems impossible, lie deep silent shafts carved into the earth. These ancient wells, weathered by centuries of wind and sand, once drew life-giving water from hidden aquifers far below. But to archaeologists, they are more than engineering marvels of survival. They are breadcrumbs leading to one of history's most tantalizing enigmas, the fabled city of Ubar, said to have risen in splendor, ruled the desert's trade, and then vanished, as if swallowed by the earth itself. What do you think really happened to Ubar? Was it swallowed by nature's fury, or is there still a hidden truth buried beneath the sands? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your theory. According to Arab legends and accounts in the Quran, Ubar, or Iram of the Pillars, was once a wealthy, magnificent city with colossal columns rising from the desert. It flourished by controlling the frankincense trade route, yet it was also described as steeped in arrogance and decadence. The legend says that God punished Ubar, causing the entire city to be buried beneath the sands. Images of camel caravans laden with goods, the scent of frankincense drifting in the wind, and the bustling sounds of the ancient marketplace have become a collective memory lasting for millennia. However, for centuries, the true location of Ubar remained only a rumor, until satellite clues opened a new path for its discovery. The ancient wells of Ubar were dug dozens of meters deep, reaching the hidden aquifers beneath the harsh Rub al-Khali desert. Their rims were reinforced with stone or mortar to prevent collapse, reflecting the remarkable engineering skills of the ancient inhabitants. Although water was not always abundant in such an arid environment, it was a priceless lifeline. These wells once served local communities and acted as vital resupply points for frankincense caravans, traveling the trade route linking Yemen and Oman to the Mediterranean. Remarkably, many of them remain almost intact, defying both time and the relentless desert winds. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, NASA researchers used Landsat satellite imagery to trace the routes of ancient caravans crossing the desert. They discovered an unusual pattern from many different directions. Camel tracks all converged on a single point. When archaeologists arrived, they found the ruins of stone structures, ancient wells, and traces of solid architecture. Subsequent excavations revealed a stone fortress and a complex well system, indicating that this place was once a prosperous trade center. Many scholars believe that Shissa is in fact the legendary Ubar. In the harsh conditions of the Rub al-Khali desert, a city's survival depended entirely on a stable water supply. The wells of Ubar were not merely water-providing structures, but essential resupply stations for caravans carrying frankincense, a commodity more valuable than gold in antiquity. By controlling this water source, Ubar became a strategic hub in the trade network, securing economic power and accumulating wealth which fueled the city's golden age. The mystery surrounding Ubar's collapse is the most debated and captivating part of the entire story. During excavations at Shissa, archaeologists found that many structures showed no signs of destruction by war or fire, but instead appeared to have been swallowed straight into the ground. At the center of the site, a massive sinkhole was revealed, possibly the mouth of a vast underground cavern or an ancient well eroded over time, which had dragged much of the settlement down with it. Geological studies indicate that beneath this area lies a layer of soft limestone easily dissolved by groundwater, forming empty karst chambers. When the roofs of these chambers weakened, the entire surface above, along with its structures, collapsed in a sudden event. Strangely, this phenomenon aligns remarkably with the Quranic legend describing Ubar as being buried as a divine punishment. Some scholars suggest that the disaster may have occurred very quickly, forcing residents to flee, after which wind and sand swiftly covered all traces. In a short span of time, a once glorious city had completely vanished from human sight for centuries. Researchers have proposed several theories to explain the collapse and disappearance of Ubar. The first suggests it was the result of natural karst subsidence. The limestone beneath the area is soft and easily dissolved by groundwater, forming massive hollow chambers. When the roofs of these chambers weakened, a large-scale collapse became inevitable. The second theory focuses on over-extraction of water. For centuries, the ancient wells continuously drained the aquifer, reducing the natural supporting pressure and destabilizing the limestone roof. Finally, many experts believe the true cause was a combination of both factors: a geological environment already prone to subsidence, accelerated by human activity, particularly water extraction. although definitive proof is lacking, all three theories highlight the fragility of the relationship between humans and their environment, where a thriving civilization can be erased by a natural imbalance that developed over millennia. The collapse of Ubar was not only a geological disaster, but also a historical turning point that ended the golden age of a strategic trade hub on the frankincense route. This event reveals the fragile connection between prosperity and the natural environment, especially in harsh climates, where a single geological shift can erase the achievements of generations. Notably, this collapse coincides with descriptions in ancient legends, adding to Ubar's allure and making it one of the most famous Atlantis of the desert stories in both history and archaeology. Today, when setting foot in Shissa, visitors and researchers can witness enormous sinkholes, the ruins of an ancient fortress, and wells that have long since run dry, lying silently amid the sea of sand. The atmosphere here carries a strange, solemn stillness, as if time had frozen at the very moment the city collapsed. The story of Ubar is still told in many different versions, some infused with religious legend, others explained through scientific evidence. Despite the varying interpretations, all agree that this place stands as living proof of nature's power to erase even the most radiant of cities. The mystery of Ubar's collapse not only sparks curiosity, but also serves as a warning about humanity's dependence on the environment and natural resources. A civilization may reach the peak of wealth, power, and prosperous trade. Yet if resources are exploited unsustainably, especially water, a single, unexpected geological event can erase all traces of its existence. Ubar stands as clear proof that the balance between humanity and nature is fragile, and when that balance is broken, even the most magnificent cities can vanish forever. Beneath the horizon of West Java, Indonesia, where the morning clouds drift low across green mountain slopes, lies a place that has stirred unending debate among archaeologists, historians, and enthusiasts of the mysterious for decades, Gunung Padang. From afar, it appears to be just a grassy hill, but as you approach, you see basalt stone terraces stretching upward like a colossal staircase to the summit. Thousands of neatly stacked rectangular blocks, seemingly defying the ravages of time and weather, stand as silent witnesses to a past we have yet to fully comprehend. Gunung Padang is often called the largest megalithic site in Indonesia, but that is only the surface of the story. What makes it extraordinary is not only its scale, but also its controversial age, its multi-layered hidden structure, and above all, its true purpose, a mystery no one has yet solved. So what do you think? Could Gunung Padang have been a ceremonial center, an ancient observatory, or even the last remnant of a forgotten civilization? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your theories. From a traditional archaeological perspective, Gunung Padang is classified as a Neolithic site around 2,000–4,000 years old. But recent studies, particularly those by Dr. Danny Hilman Natawijaja of the Indonesian Geophysical Agency, have shaken this assumption. Sediment and organic material samples taken from deeper layers, analyzed using radiocarbon dating, indicate that parts of the structure could be 9,000 to 20,000 years old, with some results reaching 26,000 years. If accurate, this would make Gunung Padang one of the oldest man-made structures ever discovered, predating the Egyptian pyramids, Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, and even the end of the last ice age, posing a massive challenge to our current understanding of human civilization's history. One of the most exciting discoveries about Gunung Padang comes from ground-penetrating radar GPR surveys and seismic reflection measurements, which reveal that beneath the current basalt layer lies not just a natural base, but a multi-layered system of artificial structures. Data indicates the presence of underground walls, chamber-like or corridor-like voids, and foundation layers that appear to have been deliberately reinforced. This suggests that Gunung Padang was not a one-time construction, but a complex that was expanded and modified over many millennia. Each generation may have left its mark by adding a new layer, preserving the old foundation, while covering it with new terraces and stone walls. This accumulation raises a major question. Could this place have been in continuous use for an extremely long period of time? And if so, what allowed it to maintain its significance across so many eras? The basalt blocks at Gunung Padang were crafted with astonishing precision. Most are rectangular in shape, with straight edges and flat surfaces indicating a deliberate cutting process. They are not placed randomly, but arranged in clear patterns, some aligned in long straight rows, others grouped into arcs, forming areas that resemble altars, ceremonial platforms, or observation stages. Notably, many blocks bear tool marks from hard implements, showing a level of precision difficult to explain if relying solely on the technology of prehistoric humans. This refinement has led many researchers to conclude that Gunung Padang could not have been just an ordinary dwelling place, but must have served a special function, requiring skills and purposes far beyond the needs of daily life. Among all the debates surrounding Gunung Padang, the question of its true purpose is the most hotly contested mystery. Unlike ancient settlement sites that clearly bear traces of daily life, such as house foundations, hearth tools, or human remains, Gunung Padang is entirely devoid of such evidence. Instead, its entire layout of basalt stone terraces and deliberately arranged areas evokes the image of a ceremonial or spiritual space where prehistoric people may have carried out activities of sacred significance rather than everyday living. Many theories have been proposed to explain this. Some researchers believe it may have been a religious ceremonial center where early communities made pilgrimages and held rituals to connect with the divine, taking advantage of its elevated position, open air, and sweeping views towards surrounding mountains and the sky. Others see Gunung Padang as an ancient astronomical observatory in which the arrangement of stones may correspond to the rising and setting positions of the sun-moon, or constellations similar to the principles found at Stonehenge. Another line of thought suggests it could have been a center of power for a lost civilization, serving as a place for gatherings, law-making, or ceremonies to affirm the authority of leaders. Supporters of the lost civilization theory go even further, believing that Gunung Padang is a surviving relic of an advanced prehistoric society wiped out by a global catastrophe, possibly the Great Flood at the end of the Ice Age. However, the biggest problem is that no theory to date can be definitively proven. The absence of concrete artifacts means the true purpose of Gunung Padang remains shrouded in the mists of time, continuing to challenge the interpretive efforts of both archaeologists and the public. The scientific debate surrounding Gunung Padang centers mainly on the age and origin of its deeper layers. Many traditional archaeologists argue that the structures beneath the surface are actually natural formations created by the cooling of volcanic lava, not the work of humans. According to them, the only part showing signs of human construction is the top layer of stone terraces, which is only a few thousand years old. In contrast, supporters of the newer studies claim that the clear symmetry, consistent alignment, and presence of underground walls indicate a deliberately crafted structure. Each excavation season brings new data, sometimes contradictory, leaving the mystery of Gunung Padang not only unresolved, but even deeper than before. Gunung Padang is not merely an ancient cluster of stones lying quietly atop a hill. It is like an open question about human history, forcing us to ask ourselves, have we truly understood the starting point of civilization? If its purpose were ever deciphered, many chapters of history might need to be rewritten. If not, it will continue to stand there like a fossilized memory in stone, awaiting future generations to uncover the answer. Standing on the summit of Gunung Padang, with the wind whistling through its stone crevices and sunlight casting a golden hue over the hills, one can feel the strange blend of grandeur and mystery. Did the ancients choose this place for a monumental reason, far beyond the comprehension of their time, or is it simply the remnant of rituals long forgotten? Whatever the answer, Gunung Padang continues to stir curiosity and drive humanity to seek the truth, and perhaps that is its greatest allure. Located in the far north of Russia, the Yamal Peninsula has long been called the edge of Siberia. It is a place of endless snowfields, skin-cutting winds, and permafrost extending tens of meters underground. This land is famous for strange geological phenomena, from massive sinkholes that appear without warning to mammoth carcasses found almost perfectly preserved in ice. Yet hidden among the white expanses lies a lesser-known mystery, the Swallowed Crypt, an ancient tomb almost completely devoured by frozen earth, leaving archaeologists with only a few scattered clues and countless unanswered questions. What do you think might be hidden inside the Swallowed Crypt? Share your theories or speculations in the comments below. Who knows, your idea might open a new path to solving this mystery. The first survey records of this area emerged in the late 20th century, when an expedition of geologists and archaeologists, guided by the local Nenets people, ventured deep into the frozen, desolate wilderness of the Yamal Peninsula. The Nenets recounted an age-old tale about the place from which the dead never return, a site regarded as a sacred forbidden zone that nomadic tribes avoided at all costs. Upon arrival, the team was confronted with an unusually deep depression surrounded by large stones stacked in a strange manner, as if they had once formed the entrance to an ancient structure. The frigid air combined with an eerie stillness made every sound seem distant. Most of the structure had sunk deep into the permafrost, leaving only a few sections of stone wall protruding above the ground, bearing carvings, worn and faded by time. These scant remnants not only hinted at a vanished civilization, but also stirred a cascade of unanswered questions. The Yamal Peninsula lies entirely within the permafrost zone, where earth and ice fuse into a solid mass, yet change constantly under the harsh rhythm of winter and summer. Each summer, deep layers of ice beneath the ground begin to melt, triggering the phenomenon known as ground ice collapse, when the foundation slowly hollows out and the entire surface above sinks. This process has taken place silently over centuries, gradually swallowing ancient structures that once stood firmly above ground. For the Swallowed Crypt, the impact was not sudden but relentless, sealing its entire entrance beneath meters of frozen earth and ice. Satellite images captured over time reveal a stark transformation. An area once elevated and marked by traces of human construction is now reduced to a cold, lifeless sinkhole filled with deep snow and solid ice. Such unforgiving conditions have turned any attempt to access the interior into a near-impossible mission. The discoveries made on the outskirts of the crypt site have deepened the mystery more than ever. Archaeologists have collected a number of seemingly unrelated artifacts that raise major questions: finely crafted copper jewelry featuring meticulous casting and engraving techniques, stone blades sharpened to a degree that still retains their edge after centuries, and most strikingly, carved stone slabs with motifs entirely unlike any artistic style of the indigenous cultures of Siberia. The presence of these artifacts suggests the possible existence of a group from elsewhere, bringing with them their own techniques and aesthetic sensibilities, and constructing this structure in such a harsh land. The questions: who were they? Where did they come from? And why choose Yamal still hang in the air with no theory able to provide a definitive answer. The Nenets, native inhabitants of the peninsula, tell legends that strikingly match the site. They speak of a house of giants deep underground, sealed by the ice god. According to oral tradition, anyone attempting to enter would be buried forever under snow and ice. While just a legend, the overlap between these stories and the reality of a tomb consumed by permafrost gives many people chills. What makes the Swallowed Crypt one of the greatest archaeological enigmas is that almost no one truly knows what it contains. There are no detailed maps, no photographs taken from within the structure. All humanity has are a few scattered artifacts found around the site. This lack of concrete data has given rise to countless conflicting theories. Some researchers believe it may be the burial place of a powerful ancient tribal leader built on a grand scale with elaborate funerary rituals to assert authority. Others suggest the structure was not merely a tomb, but also a repository for ceremonial objects, or even a treasure hoard from a vanished culture sealed away by ice for millennia. The less information there is, the more captivating the mystery becomes, leaving the scientific community both challenged and haunted, as each clue found seems to raise more questions than it answers. The greatest barrier in the quest to explore the Swallowed Crypt is the extreme natural environment almost impossible to overcome. Winters in Yamal last for many months, with temperatures frequently dropping below 40 degrees Celsius, accompanied by winds as sharp and biting as knives, turning any archaeological work into a test of survival. Even in summer, when the weather is more forgiving, the permafrost begins to thaw, creating muddy, unstable ground with the constant risk of sudden collapses. Excavating into permafrost not only requires specialized drilling and cutting technology capable of withstanding extreme cold, but also carries the risk of damaging the structure and any artifacts inside. Every step toward the site must be calculated with utmost care, as even the smallest mistake could mean losing the chance to ever uncover the secrets hidden within. In an attempt to uncover the secrets of the Swallowed Crypt, several research teams have proposed using modern technology such as ground-penetrating radar and 3D scanning devices to map the structure beneath the ice. However, the results have been far from promising. The return signals were faint and distorted by the complex interweaving of ice soil and rock layers, making it nearly impossible to reconstruct the overall shape. Multiple tests conducted in different seasons still produced fragmented results insufficient to determine the scale or layout of the interior. This has not only left the scientific community at a standstill, but has also heightened the site's allure. It lies directly beneath the observer's feet, yet seems to belong to another world, one where time and ice conspire to seal away every answer. From what is known, the Swallowed Crypt is both proof of nature's destructive power and a symbol of the perseverance archaeologists must have when confronting the mysteries of the far north. Perhaps one day, technology and conditions will allow humanity to open the door that has been shut for millennia. Until then, the Yamal tomb remains an unanswered question, where every stone, every folktale suggests we have only touched the tip of a colossal secret. In the blazing heart of Australia's Northern Territory, A colossal red monolith rises from the earth like a guardian of forgotten ages. This is Uluru, or Aya's Rock, a place where stone and spirit are inseparably bound. For the Anangu people, who have called this land home for tens of thousands of years, Uluru is not just a landmark, but the living heart of their world. Carved by time and guarded by tradition, its caves shelter the Uluru cave paintings, ancient visions etched in mineral pigments layered with the myths of creation, the footsteps of ancestors, and the sacred laws that bind all life. Step inside and you cross a threshold into a realm where art is not mere decoration, but a map to the soul of a culture. What do you think gives the Uluru cave paintings their blend of artistic beauty and mysterious spiritual power that has endured for thousands of years? Share your thoughts in the comments below. In Anangu culture, the paintings within Uluru's caves do not exist merely as works of art to be admired, but as part of Jukurpa, the system of ancestral lore creation stories and spiritual maps guiding how people live in harmony with nature. Jukurpa not only recounts the origins of the world, but also defines the relationships between humans, animals, plants, and the land. Every brushstroke, every symbol, and every hue carries multiple layers of meaning, sometimes serving as ritual instructions, other times as mythic narratives. These meanings are preserved through oral tradition and can only be fully interpreted by the elders. The symbols in the Uluru paintings carry profound abstraction, requiring the observer to understand the indigenous cultural thought system in order to decode them. Concentric circles may represent both precious water sources in the desert and communal gathering places. Stylized footprints not only depict the journeys of animals, but also symbolize the travels of ancestral beings in Jukurpa mythology. Flowing curved lines may evoke rivers, sand dunes, or ancient pathways connecting sacred lands. This simplification of form, while rich in suggestion, makes it difficult for outsiders to fully grasp the meaning, leaving a realm of mystery that modern science has only begun to scratch the surface of. One of the most distinctive features of the Uluru cave paintings is their continuity over time. They were not created and then abandoned. Rather, over many generations, the Anangu people have returned to paint, add to, or restore older images. Each painting thus becomes a layered record, preserving traces of hundreds, even thousands of years of history and collective memory. New lines drawn over ancient symbols are not meant to erase the past, but to extend the story of the ancestors, a way of continuing the writing through visual language, linking the past with the present. The colors in the Uluru paintings are created from natural minerals, each hue carrying both aesthetic value and deep symbolic meaning. Red from iron oxide in the desert soil not only evokes vitality and connection to Mother Earth, but also symbolizes blood, the life force that nourishes all beings. White from kaolin clay is often associated with purity, light, or the spirit world. Yellow from limonite recalls the sun warmth and cycles of renewal. Black from charcoal conveys notions of darkness, night, and secret rituals. This combination of colors is no accident. It is a language that conveys cultural and spiritual messages through every brushstroke. An important feature of the Uluru cave paintings is their strict hierarchy and restricted access. Not every painting is meant for everyone. Some images appear only during men's initiation ceremonies, others belong solely to the secret knowledge of women, and many are completely off-limits to outsiders. These restrictions serve not only to protect the heritage, but also to preserve the spiritual connection between the community and their ancestors. Their deeper meanings are usually passed down orally by the elders, never written down, keeping this knowledge both sacred and mysterious. Studying the symbols in the Uluru paintings presents many challenges for scientists, as they are not a code that can be deciphered through a universal language, but fragments of a unique cosmology. In the Anangu worldview, time does not flow linearly from past to future, but moves in a circle, where past, present, and future coexist and interact. As a result, the symbols do not tell stories in a clear sequential order, like in Western culture, but are connected in an interwoven network of meanings, requiring the interpreter to have deep knowledge of indigenous wisdom and spirituality. The natural setting of Uluru plays a crucial role in shaping the spiritual meaning of its paintings. This massive sandstone monolith, nearly 350 meters high and 3.6 kilometers long, stands alone in the vast desert, its red hue shifting constantly with the light of day and the changing seasons. At sunrise or sunset, the entire rock seems to ignite in a sea of light, creating an almost otherworldly scene. It is within the cool, dark hollows deep inside that the paintings slowly reveal themselves, a place where the boundary between the outer world and the inner world becomes one. Many researchers believe that this physical space is inseparable from the spiritual dimension of the art found here. The paintings in the Uluru caves also preserve valuable traces of the ancient environment of Central Australia's desert. Many depict animal species that are now extinct or no longer found in the area, such as dingoes in their original wild form, or giant birds that once lived under climatic conditions very different from today. These visual records help scientists partially reconstruct the ecological landscape that has transformed over thousands of years. Today, Uluru and its surrounding caves are strictly protected. Many painted areas are off-limits, with photography and filming prohibited to honor Anangu laws. Visitors are encouraged to listen to local guides rather than treat the art as a static museum exhibit. This reflects a vital principle: indigenous art cannot be separated from the cultural and spiritual context that created it. Standing before the Uluru cave paintings, one does not simply see art, it is a doorway into an ancient world view where humans' nature and the spirit world interlace. Each symbol feels both familiar footprints, animals, the sun, and distant ritual meanings, ancestral laws, metaphysical connections. This interplay between what we can visually recognize and what we cannot fully decode creates the irresistible mystery of the Uluru cave paintings. Even though modern science can analyze pigments, determine ages, or reconstruct painting sequences, there remains a layer of meaning only the Anangu hold. And perhaps that is what makes the Uluru cave paintings timeless, not because we have understood them entirely, but because our curiosity and desire to understand have never ceased. Amid the vast sands of the Kizilkum Desert, one of the driest and most unforgiving regions in Central Asia, stands a strange rock formation known as the Fossilized Gateway. From a distance, its shape stands out starkly against the monotonous surrounding landscape. Two massive stone pillars rising side by side, topped by a crossbeam resembling a door lintel, forming a perfect natural arch. The first impression upon approaching it is as if you are standing before an ancient city gate, abandoned by time, yet in reality, this is not a structure with a clearly recorded history. It is an unsolved mystery. So, what do you think is the Fossilized Gateway of Kizilkum, a flawless gift of nature's artistry, or could it be the weathered remains of an ancient civilization's creation? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your theories. What makes this Fossilized Gateway remarkable is not only its rare form, but also the rock from which it is made. Its entire surface is composed of ancient sedimentary rock containing countless fossilized remains of coral seashells and marine life. These fossils are clear evidence that tens of millions of years ago, this area was once the seabed. Over millions of years of geological upheaval, uplift tilting, and erosion, this sedimentary rock layer was exposed in the middle of the desert, creating a surreal scene. From a geological perspective, one reasonable explanation is that the fossilized gateway formed entirely naturally through selective erosion. In Casilcum's harsh climate, windblown sand constantly abrades the softer rock layers, leaving behind the more durable frame. Cracks caused by tectonic activity may have produced the two parallel pillars, while the top crosspiece could be a large fallen block or an intact part of the original rock. However, on the other hand, many archaeologists and explorers doubt the purely natural origin of the structure. The reason is that the degree of symmetry and angular precision of the two stone pillars far exceeds what is commonly found by chance in nature. They are almost perfectly parallel, with matching heights and widths and surfaces, with few random diagonal fractures, something difficult to achieve through weathering alone. The top crosspiece is also unusually straight and tightly fitted, raising the question, could this have once been a man-made structure from a distant era, later buried and altered by time? Some man-made hypotheses suggest that this area may once have been a ceremonial gate or territorial marker of an ancient community, possibly nomads or a vanished civilization. The Casilcum Desert lies along ancient migration and trade routes linking the Amu Darya River basin with western Central Asia. If this gate was indeed erected by humans, it could have served as a spiritual symbol, a stopping point, or a navigation marker amid a barren landscape. During limited and sporadic surveys of the fossilized gateway area, researchers have uncovered a small number of intriguing artifacts, mainly fragments of pottery and primitive stone tools. These items, though modest in quantity, hint at some form of human presence in the distant past. Yet their scattered distribution, without any clear clustering or associated structural remains, makes it impossible to confirm whether a permanent settlement ever existed here. Some experts speculate that they may have been left behind by nomadic groups or traders passing through, while others suggest they were transported from far-off sites by the relentless desert winds or ancient floodwaters that once shaped this land. This ambiguity has made the fossilized gateway a focal point of debate between two camps, the geologists and the archaeologists. Geologists stress that nature can produce astonishing shapes without human involvement, citing examples such as rock arches in Utah, USA, or stone gates in Western Australia. Archaeologists, however, point out that the precision of the Casilcum Gateway's form surpasses typical natural examples, especially when considering its parallel alignment and proportional height-to-width ratio. Another compelling theory proposes that the fossilized gateway began as a purely natural rock formation sculpted over millions of years by geological forces, but was later deliberately altered by ancient humans. In this view, the pillars and crossbeam were already present in a rough form. Yet early craftsmen may have chiseled away irregular surfaces, straightened edges, or reinforced weak points to create a symbolic or ceremonial gateway. Such a structure could have served as a territorial marker, a sacred threshold, or a gathering point for rituals. Over countless centuries, wind, sand, and erosion would have softened these modifications, blending them seamlessly into the surrounding rock until the line between nature's work and human intervention became almost impossible to distinguish. The problem is that to this day, no full-scale excavation or large-scale interdisciplinary research has been carried out here. The remote location, harsh climate, with summer temperatures reaching up to 50 degrees C, and limited infrastructure make long-term work on site a major challenge. Existing reports mostly come from short expeditions by private research groups or geological survey teams, which focus more on rock and fossil samples than on archaeological evidence. More broadly, the Fossilized Gateway is not just a strange rock in the desert, but a symbol of the intersection between two fields of science: geology, the study of Earth's natural formation, and archaeology, the exploration of traces of lost civilizations. Whether it formed entirely naturally or bears the mark of ancient humans, each hypothesis opens up fascinating stories, either of nature's random creative power or of a community that left a mysterious imprint in one of the harshest places on Earth. For this reason, the future of this mystery depends on deeper research involving geologists, archaeologists, paleontologists, and modern analytical technology. Methods such as 3D laser scanning, microstructural rock analysis, and precise dating of sediment layers could provide clearer answers. Until then, the Fossilized Gateway of Kizilkum will remain a portal to countless questions, and no one knows for certain whether it leads to a new chapter in natural history or a long-lost chapter of human history. Hidden deep within the wild heart of New Zealand's Kaimanawa forests, just south of the shimmering waters of Lake Taupo, stands a formation that defies easy explanation. To the untrained eye, it looks like the weathered remains of a colossal stone wall, vast squared blocks stacked with unnerving precision as if crafted by master builders from a forgotten age. For decades, this place, the Kaimanawa Wall, has fueled fierce debate between geologists and alternative historians. Is it merely a quirk of volcanic rock and time? Or could it be the last surviving trace of a civilization that existed long before the first known people set foot on these islands? The answer remains shrouded in mystery, and the stones aren't giving up their secrets easily. So, what do you think is the Kaimanawa Wall? Just nature's handiwork, or the silent testimony of a lost civilization? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The Kaimanawa Wall stands about 2 to 3 meters high and stretches for dozens of meters through dense forest built from massive stone blocks stacked in clearly defined layers. Each block has a flat surface with edges that are almost perfectly perpendicular, giving the impression of being cut and shaped by human hands. The blocks are relatively uniform in size, with little variation, lending the wall an improbable symmetry if it were merely a natural formation. In some sections, the joints between the blocks are so tight that a knife blade or even a sheet of paper could barely slip through, reminiscent of the precise stone-fitting techniques seen in famous megalithic sites like Sacsayhuaman in Peru or Easter Island. The stone is gray-brown in color, its surface weathered by time and harsh climate, yet its straight lines and sharp corners remain crisp, creating a striking contrast between ancient age and near-perfect precision. Supporters of the man-made wall theory believe that the Kaimanawa Wall cannot simply be a natural phenomenon. First, they emphasize the unnatural uniformity of the stone blocks. In nature, volcanic rock can fracture in layers, but it rarely produces blocks that are almost identical in size and arranged in perfectly horizontal rows. The squareness and parallel alignment of many blocks suggests the presence of deliberate construction techniques. Second, they point out striking similarities with famous megalithic structures such as the Inca walls at Sacsayhuaman, Peru, or the stone walls on Ponape, Micronesia, where massive stones are fitted so tightly that a knife blade cannot pass between them. Furthermore, certain Maori legends speak of groups before the Maori, sometimes described as tall or originating from distant lands, who possessed the ability to construct monumental stoneworks. Although these tales carry mythical elements, they align with the idea of a vanished civilization. Finally, the wall's location adds to the mystery it is not situated in a place suited for defense or agriculture, leading to the hypothesis that it may be the remnant of a ceremonial or symbolic structure, rather than something built for practical purposes. Geologists, particularly the research team from New Zealand's Department of Conservation (DOC), offer a completely different explanation, arguing that the Kaimanawa Wall is simply the result of the natural formation and transformation of rock over hundreds of thousands of years. First, they identify these blocks as ignimbrite, a type of rock formed from ash and dense pyroclastic flows after massive volcanic eruptions. As ignimbrite cools, it tends to fracture along parallel or perpendicular planes, producing squared blocks that look as if they have been cut. Second, based on dating methods, this rock layer was formed around 330,000 years ago, long before humans appeared in New Zealand. This makes the man-made structure hypothesis problematic, as there is no evidence to suggest the existence of an ancient civilization at that time. They also point to the phenomenon of jointing natural fractures that occur as rock cools and contracts, which can create straight cracks and right angles resembling human craftsmanship. Around the world, sites such as the Giant's Causeway in Ireland or Devil's Postpile in the USA show that this phenomenon can produce structures that appear highly artificial despite being entirely natural. More importantly, no archaeological traces, such as tools, pottery, or foundations, have been found around the wall, the kind of evidence one would expect from a genuine construction. One of the main reasons the mystery of the Kaimanawa Wall remains unsolved is the lack of direct excavations. The site lies on Maori land and is strictly protected by law, meaning any survey or digging requires the consent of the local iwi tribes. Many Maori communities are cautious, even reluctant to allow such intervention due to concerns about disturbing locations that may hold spiritual significance. This barrier has left both supporters of the natural formation theory and those who believe in an ancient construction holding to their positions, while no new evidence has emerged to settle the debate. The Kaimanawa Wall is not merely a geological or archaeological controversy, but also a crossroads between science and cultural identity. For some Maori communities, it may be tied to ancestral stories, whether grounded in reality or myth, and preserving it is also a way of safeguarding spiritual heritage. For researchers in alternative history, the wall is seen as a clue that could open an unwritten chapter of human history. For mainstream science, it stands as vivid proof of nature's ability to create forms that can deceive human intuition. Today, the Kaimanawa Wall has become an appealing destination for travelers who love exploring mysteries, photographers in search of unique stone structures. The media often capitalizes on the controversy between the two opposing viewpoints, turning this site into an endlessly intriguing story, even though in reality, very few people have had the chance to see it in person. It is precisely this combination of mystery and debate that has kept the Kaimanawa Wall widely talked about. The Kaimanawa Wall sits in the hazy borderland between science and legend. While many geologists are convinced it is entirely natural, the squareness and constructed look of the blocks continue to arouse suspicion. Until large-scale field research is conducted, the answer will remain unknown. And perhaps it is this very uncertainty that makes the Kaimanawa Wall one of New Zealand's most captivating mysteries. Rising majestically at the junction of Venezuela, Brazil, and Guyana, Mount Roraima is not only a geological wonder, but also a treasure trove of mysteries that have challenged human imagination and courage for centuries. Standing over 800 meters above sea level, with sheer cliffs more than 400 meters high encircling it, this tabletop summit has become a legendary image, in the minds of both the local people and Western explorers. The Pemon and Capon indigenous peoples of the Grand Sabana have long called it the home of the god Macunaíma and regard it as sacred and untouchable. What do you think could really be hidden inside the impossible vaults of Mount Roraima? A natural geological formation, an undiscovered ecosystem, or perhaps something far more mysterious? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your theories. Scientifically, Mount Roraima belongs to the Tepui Group tabletop mountains formed from Precambrian sandstone more than 2 billion years old. This means the massive rock existed long before ancient supercontinents like Rodinia or Pangaea formed and broke apart. Millions of years of geographic isolation have turned the summit into a sky island where evolution took a unique path. Over 35% of the plants and animals on the summit are endemic, meaning they are found nowhere else on Earth. For biologists, Roraima is a pristine biological treasure. For archaeologists and myth lovers, it is an ancient fortress guarded by the sheer power of nature. Among all the stories surrounding Mount Roraima, none stir more curiosity and debate than the concept of the impossible vaults, caverns, corridors, or inner spaces within the mountain that humans have never reached. Indigenous legends describe them as places where the gods store treasures, ancient knowledge, or even relics from before humans existed. Some oral traditions say that those who try to enter will be punished by the gods or forever lost in the darkness inside. Since the 19th century, when European explorers first reached the area, vague accounts have surfaced about hollow spaces within Roraima. Some claimed that standing at certain points on the mountain's slopes, they could hear hollow echoes deep beneath the rock. Photographs and surveys from the 1970s, 1980s recorded large fissures at the cliff edges leading into deep, dark voids. However, treacherous terrain, slick, wet rock, and constant year-round rainfall have forced every attempt to explore the interior to be abandoned. Remarkably, to this day, no scientific expedition has conclusively proven or disproven the existence of these chambers. Geologists suggest that if they exist, they might have formed through groundwater erosion and extremely slow weathering over hundreds of millions of years, creating sealed caves or deep cavities within the sandstone mass. Yet determining this with certainty is impossible without drilling equipment or specialized survey robots, nearly unfeasible in a sensitive remote nature reserve like Roraima. The absence of direct evidence has created an information gap, fertile ground for mysterious speculation. Some compare the impossible vaults to the hidden chambers of the Great Pyramid of Giza or the sealed corridors in the tomb of China's first emperor. A few speculative researchers even ask, could these be the remains of a vanished prehistoric civilization leaving traces deep inside the mountain? From a scientific perspective, Mount Roraima is a vast natural laboratory for geology, biology, and climatology. Researchers believe that exploring inside the mountain could reveal geological data recording billions of years of climate history or even fossils of ancient life forms. On the other hand, indigenous legends of divine treasures and gateways to other worlds carry deep cultural meaning, reflecting how people revered and interpreted natural phenomena beyond their understanding. It is this coexistence of science and legend that makes the impossible vaults one of the most captivating mysteries on Earth, real enough to spark scientific curiosity, yet vague enough to ignite the imagination. Reaching Mount Roraima is already a challenge, but finding a way deep into its interior is many times harder, virtually impossible. First, the terrain consists of sheer vertical cliffs, hundreds of meters high, with only a few narrow, slippery climbing routes that demand top-level professional mountaineering skills. The weather is equally unforgiving, with rain falling almost year-round, thick fog, often reducing visibility to just a few meters, and constant high humidity wearing down both people and equipment. Safety hazards are ever present. Sudden rockfalls, slips on wet surfaces, and even flash floods triggered by waterfalls cascading from the summit. In addition, strict conservation regulations pose another major obstacle, as the area lies within national and international protected zones, limiting the number of visitors and banning heavy equipment, making deep interior surveys extremely difficult to authorize. Even with modern technology like drones or climbing robots, the damp environment, poor communication signals, and harsh conditions are enough to doom most exploration attempts to failure. The image of Mount Roraima has appeared in literature, art, and film. Most famously, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's The Lost World 1912 depicted an isolated plateau where dinosaurs and prehistoric creatures still roamed. Many films, video games, and speculative documentaries have used Roraima as the setting for tales of portals to other worlds or treasures buried since prehistoric times. This shows that whatever the truth inside the impossible vaults may be, its value lies not only in scientific discovery, but also in its power to fuel human imagination, the same force that has driven humanity to reach for new horizons since our earliest days. Today, Mount Roraima still stands a colossal fortress amid the clouds of South America. The impossible vaults, if they truly exist, remain deep inside, protected by hundreds of meters of ancient rock and eternal mist. Amid the debates, theories, and legends, one undeniable truth endures until we find a way in this mystery will live on, reminding us that Earth still holds dark corners left unexplored. Perhaps it is this very inaccessibility, the blend of natural harshness and technological limits, that makes Mount Roraima one of the most mysterious places on the planet, and a treasure trove for both science and the human imagination.